Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The threat of wildfire poses a growing risk to Oregonians. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be wildfire ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
Life is complicated enough. Why worry about what to do with your extra car? Skip the costs of maintaining it, storing it, insuring it, or renewing registration. Car repairs? Forget about it. Here's one easy solution to your car problem. Donate it to our station. It's fast, free, tax deductible, and if you donate, you're going to feel incredible knowing you're supporting quality programming. Interested? Just call this toll-free number or donate online. Thank you.
They travel across America to give an answer for questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
The Gospels are historically reliable.
Their mission, present truth, faith, and help people find purpose.
Not based on blind faith.
Join them as they strive to make a lasting impact on lives and hearts for Christ.
They're either all wrong or one of them's right. I got to go to the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Don't miss Give Me an Answer, weekdays at 3 on the Dove TV. Tackling the tough issues facing America and our nation's freedom. That's Sekalo on the Dove TV.
DAs around the country finding who they want to prosecute.
A bold half hour hosted by ACLJ's Jordan and Logan Sekalo, taking you inside the battle of constitutional and political freedom, discussing issues that matter to you and your family.
No one that should or want to run for president will end up running for president.
Be in the know with Sekalo on the Dove TV. Go behind closed doors to witness biblical counseling with real people. Transformed, Monday and Thursday on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. And this is the place that everybody gets their prep from. All the networks are watching this show to figure out what they're going to say on their show. And if you believe that, we have a bridge.
And good luck to them. Yeah, the bridge. Yeah, we saw it in the news, too.
We reset the bar. We just don't tell you where.
Good morning.
Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. A lot in the news. There always is, and we'll get to that. The weather, interesting.
Yeah.
It feels like it should rain this morning.
Yeah.
Is it gonna?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, a little chance, a little bit of drizzle up on my place, so it could.
All right, we'll talk to his twin brother a little bit later on about that. Anyway, like I said, a lot in the news. We'll get to that. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. What's up, man? What do you got?
It is, first of all, it's National Streaming Day.
Oh, really?
Recognizing the advancing and growing technology that makes our mobile lives run more smoothly. And, we're kind of living in a day and age of streaming.
Yep.
I know a lot of people who are watching this program right now are streaming it.
Yeah, I would say to those who have friends that want to share the Dove, it's a little plug here, just invite them to the Dove website, thedove.us.
Yeah.
Click, and you're streaming the Dove.
In fact, when I have this conversation with people, oftentimes people are very surprised how easy it is to watch us. Because they think, well, you're not on, like my cable or my satellite. So you don't need that. You can just go right to our site.
If you have a smartphone, smart TV, it'll grab it, especially if you have your own box in your house.
Yeah.
And on the app, the Dove app. You can stream the Dove on the Dove app.
And plus, more and more people are pulling the plug, cutting the cord on cable and on satellite. I mean, for years, we haven't had any of those.
Satellite's been going down. Cable's kind of hanging in there because cable offers more than just programming, So I watch those numbers every day. But hey, the bottom line is, if you want to share the Dove with somebody, I don't care where they are in the world, you can get it on Roku.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it on Apple TV, streaming both on Roku and Apple TV, or just send them to the Dove website, and they can stream it right there.
There you go.
Okay, streaming. Happy streaming.
Also National Rescue Dog Day, recognizing all the benefits of allowing a four-legged canine to adopt you.
Okay.
And that's oftentimes what happens. We got those rescue dogs.
Yeah, AKC neighborhood.
There you Some smart dogs.
It's a new breed.
I will attest to the fact that rescue dogs can be both smart and dumb.
Smart and dumb.
I got both.
Yeah.
But one thing that runs true in all of them, they're very sweet.
And they're loyal.
They're great dogs.
Very loyal.
Yep. Also, I've never heard of this, National Sugar Bee Apple Day. Sugar Bee is a registered trademark, and Sugar Bee apples were developed by honeybees.
Oh.
So, and you know, there's no accidents. So the honeybees, you know, obviously were at God's direction. And basically, on a sunny day, a honeybee was flying through the orchards collecting pollen. The bee transferred pollen from an unknown apple variety to a Honeycrisp apple blossom. And then, of course, God and Mother Nature did their part, and the sugar bee apple was born.
Cross-pollination.
How about that?
Yeah.
Also, National Pick Strawberries Day is encouraging us to get out there because it's the start of the strawberry season, right?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. There's some strawberry patches around here.
Yes.
And for a couple of years, they did away with them, went to hemp.
Oh, no. How did that work out for them?
And now they're back to strawberries.
You know what? I have seen more folded hemp farms around us than any. It's amazing. Did anybody stay in the business?
I don't think so. I think that industry couldn't happen to a better industry. And even a lot of the marijuana. In fact, I have a report on some of this a little bit later on. Even the marijuana stuff went down. Oh. But the hemp stuff pretty much vanished. And there's some left, but not like there was for a while.
Oh, everywhere you look.
And so anyway, I drive past this one place just about every day, and they're putting in strawberries.
You know, one of the advantages of it, you know, we had to put in a low-yield irrigation system for our irrigation purposes, the lawn and water, you know, our beds and stuff like that. And so we needed to get a big holding tank, a water tank.
Oh.
Well, with the folding of all the hemp stuff, a lot of used ones out there for sale, cheap. Oh, I did, yeah.
How big?
Yeah, 2,400 gallons.
Oh. Hey, let me know. I need one of those.
Yeah, man. It even had a water pump inside of it. Yeah, it was like,
really?
Man, it was a good deal, too.
Yeah, so, was it black market or what?
Yeah, no, they legitimately folded. They needed to sell. They needed to sell. You know what we did to decorate? You know, it's one of those big black poly ones.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had all the grandkids come out, and they all painted very colorful flowers all over it. It's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
I'm for that.
It's also National Quiche Lorraine Day.
Oh, she's around.
Yeah, yes. And quiche Lorraine has its origins in the rural Lorraine region of France. And while it's considered a French dish, it was developed during a time when the Lorraine region was under German rule. And this explains why the word quiche comes from the German word Kuchen, meaning cake. So it's like a egg cake.
It's an egg cake.
Yeah. How about that? I didn't think of it in that term. Or you could even kind of think of it as an egg pie.
Well, look, they're delicious.
Oh, yes.
And I've had them in all varieties. I like that one there. It looks a little thick and got a lot of egg in it. It looks like it got some bacon bits.
That's the one I want. That's the one I want. All right, so enjoy your quiche. But today's fun fact, all right, and Weatherman's dream here, our fun fact. And this, according to the Library of Congress, and it's even listed on the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration website. Okay. So you know it's right, okay?
Okay.
If you count how many times a cricket chirps in 15 seconds and then add the number 37, you'll get a number that's pretty close to the current temperature outside in degrees Fahrenheit, and this is known as Dolbear's Law. Your brain is like just grinding right now going, what?
So I'm supposed to lay awake.
Look
and I got to count this stupid cricket.
How many times it chirps in 15 seconds and then add 37, and that'll be the temperature outside.
Really?
How about that? Have you ever heard of such?
No, I'm into
That's like an old wives' tale, isn't it?
It is.
Huh?
Now, if you ever live by water,
okay,
you can count the frogs chirping.
Oh, and what does that do?
Nothing. other than keep you up all night, because they're really loud. But you know what's interesting? You know, I mentioned to you earlier there's this Indian. It's not a wise tale. It's actually an Indian fact where they track the movement of the barometric pressure, the moon, and the cycle and all that.
Okay.
And how things move about every 2 or 3 hours they change.
Uh-huh.
Same thing with frogs. If they're chirping out there and they're going crazy, all of a sudden they stop.
You know what? We have up on our upper meadow, we have a lot of frogs that all of a sudden, and it has a lot to do with temperature, I think.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're alive out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear everything.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, all of a sudden, I mean, at the exact same time, it's
Boom.
like the switch is turned off.
Yeah, it's there's something to this.
I don't get it.
Okay, well, it's crickets, huh?
Crickets and temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, he really isn't mental, but he does the weather here.
Still some showers at the top of our region, but clearing as we move south. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, showers likely with highs in the low to mid-60s for Vancouver and Portland. A chance of showers, then partly sunny and low to mid-60s for Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley with a chance of showers mainly in the morning, then gradual clearing to partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-60s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. In central Oregon, mostly sunny with daytime highs in the low 60s for Prineville and Bend, becoming sunny in upper 50s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, becoming sunny and breezy with a high near 66. Along the Oregon coast, a slight chance of showers with patchy fog, then sunny and 61 in Coos Bay, becoming sunny and breezy with highs in the mid to upper 50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny in upper 60s to low 70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the upper 60s. Into northern California, sunny with highs in the low 70s around Wairika. More sunshine moving south with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with a light northwest wind. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the low 80s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 68 and a west wind gusting up to 22 miles per hour. And today in San Jose, sunny and 79. It's a snapshot of your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
All right, there you go. Jerry looks at this with mixed emotions.
I really do. Yeah, we got snow and we got dirt.
That's Mount Ashland. I don't know what run that is.
I feel like I hit the dirt.
You did. You hit it right. The dirt or a tree or something out there. All right, so that just shows you Mount Ashland is slowly losing its snow, but next year during this time will be very important because they'll be replacing 2 chairs next spring. So we look forward to that.
Okay, well, time for a little bit of encouragement with Dr. Anthony George. He says all nations and tribes and tongues will be around the throne of the Lord.
That's why, for people who go to just homogeneous churches, there's nothing wrong with homogeneous churches. By that, everybody's the same nationality, same ethnicity. Nothing wrong with that if that's just how it happens. Culturally, it can be appropriate in different settings. But I just feel sorry for them because, if you've been in an all-Anglo church or just an all-Hispanic church or an all-Asian church, and you just go down the line, when you get into the throne room of heaven, it's almost like you're going to have to go into multicultural sensitivity training 101 because when you look around in heaven, they're going to be from every nation, tribe, and tongue. For instance, when John the Apostle had that out-of-body experience that was recorded in the book of Revelation, he was transported to the throne room of God, and he describes what he saw in Revelation chapter 7. He says, after these things I looked, and behold, there was this great multitude which no one could number. Where were they from around the throne room of God? They were from all nations, tribes, peoples, and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, with palm branches in their hands. And what were they doing? They were crying out with a loud voice, saying, salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. They were all crying out for the same Lord who died for them on the cross.
I really start to really appreciate this guy. He's got a little jalapeno in him.
He's got a lot of jalapeno in him. Yes, he does.
And anyway, good stuff. Now, that's an attitude adjustment for people. Think about it, because here we are. We want to support evangelism and missionary work all over the world. Did we ever stop to think that those people that we really want to evangelize will be with us in heaven?
Great point.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, and let me ask you a question, because this will really curl somebody's hair.
All right.
Will there be drums in heaven?
Or maybe in a certain neighborhood in heaven only? I don't know. Why do you ask?
Well, you know this.
Do I know it?
You're a worship leader.
Wait, here's the deal. There will be drummers in heaven, but they'll all be surrounded by plexiglass.
So there'll be a percussion session over there.
All right.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's good. All right. Good morning to you. 12 and a half past the hour. Let's take a look at some of the top stories this morning. And, the big one yesterday was that President Trump did reach out to Russian President Putin. They had a nice, long talk, and they said that Moscow and Ukraine will start immediately negotiations towards a ceasefire to end the war. Now, that was yesterday. I don't know what comes of this. Now, this is a classic story of what I mean by surveying the other networks. When this story broke yesterday, I thought, okay, how's everybody else covering it?
Yeah.
And I started flipping around, looking through this. Okay, the president made a phone call to Putin to sit down and say, let's get this thing on the right track. Let's stop the bloodshed. Let's stop the killing. They apparently agreed to meet and start a ceasefire towards negotiation. Now, that hasn't been set up, but apparently it's coming, okay?
All right.
You go over to the other networks, and it was Trump didn't know what he was doing. Putin doesn't really need Trump. Zelensky is, willing to work, and they really don't need Trump in the middle of this negotiation. They were the other media sources were trying to get Trump out of the negotiation and the mediator type position.
Yep.
I'm going, you guys got to be kidding. Who made the phone call here?
Right.
Who made the phone call?
And none of this was going on in the last administration. Not one bit of it.
No, but I just thought it was, come on, you guys, can't you be even intellectually honest?
No.
Putin didn't make the phone call.
Right.
Zelensky didn't make the phone call. Gosh, it's just amazing to me. All right, so this story is so interesting. We all know that there's sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. We are one. In fact, we're the oldest sanctuary state in the nation.
Right.
Okay? And so these things come into play. Now they're starting to backfire. Okay? So what it's become is a harboring now of illegals. So they go to these sanctuary cities, they go to these sanctuary states. And so that's kind of put the squeeze on the federal government and ICE and others. What can they do to go into a sanctuary state and get these people out? Yeah. And there seems to be roadblock after roadblock after roadblock until yesterday. This is so amazing. The United States Attorney for the District of California. So this is the U.S. Attorney for California. He took major action yesterday to crack down on sanctuary policies in the Golden State. He's launching a program called Operation Guardian Angel. And what he's doing is he's beginning to scan the criminal database of every single day to identify arrested illegal aliens in local jurisdictions of the DOJ and can charge them with felony illegal reentry. In other words, he can get them with these warrants. So he's flooding the state with warrants for their arrest. Well, this supersedes any sanctuary law.
All right. Okay.
He found a hole in the system.
No kidding.
And the first state he's going after, this is California.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
Something as simple as this? So now, guess what he's also set up here?
What?
If the state is caught not coming forth with the information that they have on these people that they got in their jurisdiction, is that harboring an enemy?
Yeah, and who would be held responsible? Who within the state would make such a decision?
Well, it would be, I would say in the media, it's kind of like that judge that was hiding people in the jury room.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would come down to that local level.
Okay.
But I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow, it just takes time for this stuff to unwind.
Yeah.
Well, the one who really gets mud in their face is Governor Newsom.
Oh,
because now he borrowed the money to give illegals Medicare. Now he can't pay it.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. California's in real trouble. Real trouble. All right. Speaking of which, yesterday in the news conference, the White House defends Medicaid reforms, which is really kind of a division within the GOP. What's going on here? So everybody's saying, "Oh, they're cutting Medicaid."
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what Caroline Leavitt said about that yesterday.
So the president wants to preserve and protect Medicaid for Americans who this program was intended for, the most vulnerable in our society, pregnant women, low-income families, seniors, those who truly need these benefits. And it should be going to people who physically cannot work. We want to see able-bodied Americans at least working 20 hours per week, whether that's part-time or full-time, whether that's even looking for work or volunteering for 20 hours a week if they are receiving Medicaid. These are common sense provisions. These are common sense changes that were actually introduced by former Democrat President Clinton. They've been supported by every Democrat president since, including the previous president, Joe Biden. But again, these are common sense reforms to ensure that those that this program was intended for receive those benefits.
Okay, so you can see what the left is doing on this, jumping on it, because anything that takes something away from somebody, somehow you're a jerk. But here's the deal: how much of the Medicaid system has been abused by people who don't really need Medicaid?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the issue.
Yes.
And the issue has to be seriously looked at. I mean, how long do you pay for an employee that doesn't work?
Yeah, that's another good question.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because the laws prevent you from firing them.
Right. Well, it depends on it. Are you a federal employee or do you work in the private sector? There's a huge difference.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
And so the only thing I'm thinking here is that all systems need to be cleaned up and tightened up and ask the question, are they really serving the people they were intended to? And how many people are on Medicaid that shouldn't be there?
Yeah.
And what's wrong with looking at that?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, it's not going over well. I mean, it's getting bad press, but it's not preventing them from taking a look at it.
All right. Well, before we go to break, I figured something out.
You did?
Yep, I did, and I want to interject with it. You know, we're talking about this James Comey controversy, where he says he's walking down a beach and he innocently finds 8647. He just happened to find it.
Yeah.
And now he's under the gun for it. Well, did you realize it all fell into place? James Comey has a thriller novel that's being released this week. He is a publicist's dream, because he's been out of the news. Right. James Comey, we haven't said his name in months.
Right.
But all of a sudden, he's back in the news on the week when he has a new novel being released.
Right.
He designed this whole thing as a publicity stunt.
Okay, there's a couple things that you brought it up.
Okay.
Read down a little bit further. He knew what 86 meant.
Absolutely. Well,
in fact, his wife knew what 86 meant.
But she said innocently, she thought it was something, it was a restaurant term that when they clear your plate, off your table, that's 86ing the plate. Oh, come on, give me a break.
Okay, so he knows what it is.
Yes.
He's done it. And guess what? Now, if this was a publicity stunt to get recognition to his book,
to sell books,
his book is being released, I think, this week or
this week.
Okay, so I got a funny feeling this blew up in his face.
Well, maybe, but you got to still remember. There's how many votes did Kamala Harris get this last time out?
Well, yeah.
I mean, he's got that many potential customers.
You know. Would you be surprised if it flops? It's kind of like Hillary's book that flopped.
You know, I would never be surprised. No.
I think the guy is so tainted. Who cares what he thinks? And especially if it's a fiction.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, a lot of what he has been involved with has been fiction.
Maybe fiction to him.
Come on, man.
I don't know.
How do you distinguish between the two with a guy like him?
If he did this as a publicity stunt, it just shows you how stupid he is.
Well, he's being talked about. I mean, his name's in the news. You know what they say about publicity.
Yeah, just don't misspell my name. Just don't misspell my name. All right. Okay. Okay.
I'm not buying it, though. I'm not reading that book.
I don't think that there is. By the way, when you are so discredited as much as he is, and he's getting the publicity of a bad cop, Who cares what the book says, especially if it's a fiction? If it was a book about his time as FBI director, maybe people would read it from his perspective and pull it apart. But if it's just a fiction...
Yeah, but you underestimate the power of the team voter.
Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. All right, well, I don't know. I'm not wishing him bad luck. I'm just saying I think he's too tainted to...
You know what? I don't know if he'll sell a book or what, but at least it all falls into place now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. We're not going to 86 anything. We're going to transition to the kitchen.
Quiche
We'll be right
Lorraine.
back.
Quiche Lorraine. Yeah.
The right cleaning company matters. Choose Dust Plus Cleaning and Carpet Care, a family-owned company proudly serving Grants Pass and nearby communities for over 25 years. We're passionate about delivering the best, whether it's carpets, using purified water for no window spots, or carefully washing solar panels. We're committed to superb customer service from start to finish. Radiant spaces from local professionals. Request a free quote today.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Here's a recipe for a great morning. Get plenty of rest. Spend quality time with God. Have a good breakfast. Then add a generous helping of Perry, Jerry, and Mornings on the Dove. They'll get you ready for the day with encouragement and information.
Good morning to you. Happy Monday. Here we are.
Mixing in the latest news, weather to plan your day, an inspiring reminder from God's Word, baked with timely insights and discussions on today's headlines.
Do you realize how many headlines are out there this morning?
Oh, man. And of course, lots of laughs, fun, and encouragement they're famous for.
That is no joke, Barry. That's not a joke. That's real. I've seen pictures of that.
To bring you a smile before you start the day. Make Mornings on the Dove part of your morning recipe.
Anyway, good morning to you.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 8 a.m. only on the Dove TV and radio. Encouraging and informative. More at thedove.us.
How y'all doing out there? Happy Tuesday. A lot going on in the news today. Beautiful weather. Well, you know, earlier we had the whole idea about strawberry patches replacing hemp fields.
Yes, we did. On this Pick a Strawberry Day.
You know. Well, a little bit kind of tie into that. There's a report that popped out yesterday that Oregon's overdose deaths have gone down. The deaths in Oregon, overdose deaths in Oregon, went down 22% in 2024, according to the Oregon Health Authority. In 2024, there were 80,400 drug overdoses in the United States, 26.9 fewer than the 110,000 in 2023. But Oregon is showing its decline down by 22%. Some will say it's a variety of reasons, but in the meantime, there are several new programs that have come out of this. Save Lives Oregon's Harm Reduction Clearinghouse. They have the opioid treatment programs that are out there, increased residential treatment capacity, and the list goes on and on, not to mention the awareness of things. This is good news. There's a lot of peer pressure going on. I think that it's possible that drugs, instead of being a fad, has maybe declined, but those who are dependent upon it and addicted, that's another issue. But they're down 22%.
Do you think in our state anyway, I know that we see it going down nationwide, but in our state, you know, they recriminalize certain drugs?
Well, yes, I think what was that, Measure 11?
Yeah.
And that was the other thing, because now they're cracking down on it. So, but Measure 11 was the dumbest thing they ever, about as bad as the wildfire map.
Right, and of course it comes out of a couple counties.
Yeah.
You know, nobody else voted for it, did they? For Measure 11, for...
I had to look at county to county, I don't know. All right, so a little bit more backyard. So you know, one of the reasons that President Trump continues to pull high ratings in spite of his personality is that he shut the border down, and that translates into safety and security, which people want. Well, in Klamath County, special election today, the voters in Klamath County will decide on a designated police presence in the eastern part of the county. The East Klamath County Safety District has proposed a levy to offer emergency response services, crime prevention programs, and community safety initiatives covering the eastern county where the residents say there is a concerning amount of criminal activity. Now, let me just tell you this. If this levy passes, it just tells you something that I've been saying, and I don't mean that to say that I'm the pro on it, but security and safety is a big issue in people's minds. And if they're willing to even increase their taxes to pay for it, that is a big deal. And so we'll see tomorrow, if we have the results tomorrow, if this levy in Klamath County passes. So here you have a rural county wanting to increase their police force and asking the citizens to pay for it, and apparently it's polling pretty high.
Well,
what does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
You know, people want security.
They want
safety.
They want safety.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going on out there. And according to old Mr. Quiche himself, nice weather. Kind of comes. We're actually going into the long Memorial Day weekend, and I think the weather's going to be absolutely perfect. Not hot.
Right.
And not really cold.
Yeah, we got
kind of like 60s and 70s.
You are exactly on the money.
Yeah.
And the hottest day looks like tomorrow, mid-70s, but then backing down to the upper 60s on Thursday and Friday, and then warming up through the weekend. So typical spring weather.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful for this long Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
So if you head out.
Well, we saw the president's trip to the Middle East, and it's been interesting to see how it's been portrayed. But GE Aerospace Chairman and CEO Larry Culp joined Maria Bartiromo and responds to this clip of Donald Trump in Doha, Qatar.
We're surrounded by some of the greatest business people in the world. We just had a tremendous order of Boeing. This is Boeing, and this is General Electric. And General Electric, I hear, makes the best large airplane engine in the world by not even a contest.
Good morning from Doha. We couldn't be more excited, as you saw in the clip there, for GE Aerospace, a 400-plus engine order in the wide-body space. We're talking about both our GE NX and GE 9X engines, which will power the Boeing aircraft, both the 787s and the 777Xs, that Qatar Airways is purchasing. The largest wide-body engine order in our company's history. I think the same applies to Kelly and the Boeing team. So we couldn't be, I think, more excited about the confidence and the faith that the Qatar Airways team is putting in both of our companies. So a lot of work lies ahead, but between last night and this morning, a lot to celebrate as well.
Okay, well, I think what he's doing here is by making these deals, especially in the Middle East, he made a business deal before he made any kind of a political get-together.
True, yeah.
Okay, and that's yet to be worked out. We'll see if Saudi Arabia becomes a part of the accord and all those things. But he walks out of there with a lot of money. Now, the General Electric jet engine thing is kind of interesting because when he bought the 757 and he refurbished it, he had Rolls-Royce engines put on. And I think Rolls-Royce and GE, they would kind of argue this thing out a little bit. But he walks away from was it Qatar with the order.
Yes.
With Boeing and GE, and Boeing uses GE, so I mean they both were huge winners in that deal.
Yeah.
210 aircraft.
So he's over there with GE and Boeing execs with him, executives. Do they ride over on Air Force One with him?
Was that there, or was that here?
I thought that. I don't know. You know, that's a good question. I thought that was
post. I think that was post.
Was that post?
Yeah.
Was it in Qatar or yes? He said yes.
It is. Who said that?
The guy, the expert, Scott.
What does he know? The only thing he knows is Lamberger.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, but you got to listen to him on that.
Okay. Well, anyway, the point being is, they walked out of there with a big order. It's a big order, and billions of dollars. So we'll see.
Well, I would imagine too that if he's going to go over there and make a deal, that they'd have to have like executives with him because he's not going to unless he wants the commission himself.
Well. He's a true salesman.
Yeah. Oh boy, is he?
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, that makes sense if they were all. Yeah. They all could have been on Air Force One. If you were watching Fox News, you think the only person on Air Force One was Sean Hannity. But it's not true. There were other people on the plane. All right, we'll be right back.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Washington Watch with Tony Perkins. Every weeknight covering current events, issues of faith, family, and freedom. Tony is president of the FRC and your leading source for what's really happening in our nation's capital. Weeknights on the Dove TV.
Well, welcome back. Happy, what is today? Today is Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right, the big, beautiful bill is having trouble in the House, and it was getting kicked around. The first go-around trial balloon, it didn't pass. This is President Trump's tax cut bill. And what's interesting to me is that there's some, Republicans in the House that are ultra-conservative and maybe fiscal hawks, and they wanted other things in the bill more tough than what the bill proposed.
Okay.
And they voted against it. And so in the meantime, it looks like now some will say present. In other words, they're here, but they're not voting yay or nay. Okay? I don't know how that all works. I mean, you got to be a part of the Rules Committee to figure all that out.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like the big, beautiful bill is advancing. Now, why Republicans would not work with the president on that, that's a whole nother can of worms. But anyway, Ben Shapiro decided that he was going to give us an explanation of President Trump's big, beautiful tax bill, and here's what he had to say.
There's not much in the tax cut bill for people who are low income, mainly because people who are low income are not paying taxes in the United States. And so whenever people say this tax bill disproportionately benefits the rich, well, I mean, I would assume because the rich absolutely overpay proportionally based on their income, like wildly disproportionately. The top quintile of income earners in this country pay all net taxes in the country, all of them. Net taxes meaning the amount you pay to the government versus the services you get back from the government. A lot of middle income people are paying taxes, but they're also receiving tremendous benefits back from the government in the form of various forms of welfare, social support, and all of the rest. Representative Blake Moore of Utah said this is not a bill for billionaire relief, but Democrats are casting the bill as an unacceptable giveaway to well-off people at the expense of most Americans. So there are a bunch of different provisions that are controversial here. One is the tax data, and then one is the question of where some cuts are coming from. So if you look at the actual material in the bill, the Tax Foundation has a good rundown on the bill, taxfoundation.org. And what they find through their preliminary analysis is that the tax provisions would increase long-run GDP by 0.6%, which is a solid increase in GDP, in national growth. It would reduce federal tax revenue by $4.1 trillion over the course of the next decade. Again, what does that mean? It means the federal government will take in less money than it would have if it left the top tax rates at a higher rate. So you're increasing growth, but you're decreasing the revenue to the government, the amount of money that the government steals from the taxpayers. On a dynamic basis, the revenue reduction would fall by 19% to $3.3 trillion over 10 years before the added interest costs. So they're saying that basically that $4.1 trillion that you're missing, that's assuming a static level of economic growth. If you include the economic growth, then you end up with more revenue back to the government, but you're still going to end up with, in addition to the deficit, of some $3.3 trillion. Overall, the bill would prevent tax increases on 62% of taxpayers that would occur if the Trump tax cuts were to expire. But there are other provisions that are being eliminated, like, for example, bonus depreciation and research and development expensing. So in some ways, this is a significantly more populist tax cut bill than the Trump tax cut bill the first time around. This is why, for example, there's no tax on tips included, but they're getting rid of bonus depreciation. The House-passed budget resolution would allow a $4.5 trillion increase in the deficit from tax cuts over the next decade, so long as spending is also cut by $1.7 trillion. But if they don't cut the spending, if that spending never materializes, then the cap on the tax cuts gets reduced dollar for dollar. So the question is where those cuts come from. This is where most of the controversy is occurring, not with regard to the tax rates per se, but with regard to the cuts. Where are the cuts occurring to offset some of the loss in revenue to the federal government? And the answer is in restructuring of Medicaid particularly.
Okay, so I think what the president's goal is here is to come before the American people at the next address to Congress in January. Okay, and say, we now have a balanced budget.
Okay. All right.
I think that's his goal.
Okay. Well, he said that's what he wants.
Yeah. So how he gets there is rubbing a lot of people. Okay.
Well, as so many other instances occur in the same way.
Yeah. Here's a guy that never gets rubbed about anything. Just kind of consistent all the way.
Still some showers at the top of our region, but clearing as we move south. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, showers likely with highs in the low to mid-60s for Vancouver and Portland. A chance of showers, then partly sunny in low to mid-60s for Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley with a chance of showers mainly in the morning, then gradual clearing to partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-60s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. In central Oregon, mostly sunny with daytime highs in the low 60s for Prineville and Bend, becoming sunny in upper 50s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, becoming sunny and breezy with a high near 66. Along the Oregon coast, a slight chance of showers with patchy fog, then sunny and 61 in Coos Bay, becoming sunny and breezy with highs in the mid to upper 50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny in upper 60s to low 70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the upper 60s. Into northern California, sunny with highs in the low 70s around Wairika. More sunshine moving south with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with a light northwest wind. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the low 80s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 68 and a west wind gusting up to 22 miles per hour. And today in San Jose, sunny and 79. It's a snapshot of your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
And it's a beautiful day, a little bit of a snapshot of the side of Mount Ashland, which shows dirt on Jerry's favorite ski run.
That's right. You can still get around some of that dirt. It's okay.
Barely. Yeah. Don't go up there now, you hamburger. Look what you got on your right foot.
That's right. Yeah, the key is slow down when you go through that section right there.
You may have to take up bobsledding or something.
You know what Pam had the nerve to say to me? Even this morning, she said, you were skiing too fast in the fog. And I'm like... Well, let's move on. This is an old subject. What was at the time? It was the most amazing telescope ever built, and it orbited the Earth. And it was on this day in history that the very first images came through its lens.
On May 20th, 1990, the world held its breath as the Hubble Space Telescope beamed back its very first photographs from orbit. After years of anticipation and billions of dollars, humanity was about to see the universe like never before. The images arrived, and they were blurry. Confusion turned to dismay. The pristine lenses, engineered to peer across time and space, had a tiny but devastating flaw: a millimeter-wide miscalculation in the mirror's curvature. It was like asking the most powerful eye ever built to stare through a fogged-up lens. NASA scientists, stunned but undeterred, devised a solution. If Hubble needed glasses, they'd send them in space. In 1993, astronauts performed a daring servicing mission installing CoStar, an optical correction system like interstellar spectacles. When Hubble's corrected eyes opened again, they captured starlight with dazzling clarity, galaxies dancing, nebula glowing, and the edge of time itself. But on this day in history, Hubble needed an appointment with the eye doctor.
Remember that?
Wow. So those guys went up there with a...
yeah, they went up there with like a
DeWalt
right.
drill up there and they go...
yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Okay. Well, over to best-selling Bible teacher, Jeannie Cunyon. She's on Focus on the Family a lot and talks about the extra burden Christian moms sometimes feel to make their children, to make sure that their children are saved.
I do. I think there's an extra layer because we have bought into the lie that our kids' faith and the fruit of their life is all dependent on what we do. It's like I am learning all over again to not trust in what I've done, but to trust in the Lord. Just this past Sunday, our pastor was preaching on Jeremiah 17, and he got to verse 7. And it says, trust, what does he say? He says, blessed is the man, and I was like, blessed is the mom, whose trust is in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. And the sermon wasn't about motherhood, but it just really convicted me that lately I have been putting my trust back in what I've done. And the Lord was really inviting me to release it all over again and say, no, trust in me. Do your part. You are commanded to raise them in the love and the knowledge of me. Do that. Yeah. And let them see how much you love me, and let them see how much you need me. Because we can do those things. We can plant these seeds, which we need to do. All those spiritual practices of memorizing scripture and serving others and reading the Bible together are so essential. But if my kids don't see me trusting the Lord, with what I'm doing, and they see me trying to manipulate the outcomes, what does that teach them about where my trust is?
Where your trust is, who you're trusting in. Yeah. And I love that Jeremiah 17, and you're right, the translation says blessed is the man, you're saying blessed is the mom, and if I'm not mistaken, it says something like who trusts, because then the flourishing happens.
That's
and the
right.
seeds spring up, and
That's
you're
right.
talking about that with that growth there.
Even in dry lands and in hot temperatures, meaning hard times will still come, but when our trust is rooted in the Lord, the flourishing will happen. And it's rarely in the timing that I want to see it happen. And I can say that with certainty now because I've got boys from 8 to 28. So I know the difference in parenting an 8-year-old where you can still have charts and things that are really helpful to help them learn consequences and boundaries. But the older they get, the more you learn how little control you have over the outcome and how desperate you are to pray and to see the Lord work in their lives through your prayers.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break and look for some quiche.
Wildfire season is coming. Are you ready? All it takes is one small ember to level a home. Reduce any fire hazards around your home and property to prevent an escaped fire from spreading out of control and to protect your home from an oncoming wildfire. It's called Defensible Space, and it works. Go to keeporegongreen.org to learn more.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
Don't miss this. After being stripped, beaten, locked, and left to suffer, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. They chose to praise God in the middle of horrible circumstances. If we're worshiping God with resolution today, we will learn to worship God in persecution tomorrow. We need to learn how to worship God. Know this, when you come to church every Sunday, this is a rehearsal. We're learning to praise God, not just for now, but for the days coming when we will not need praise just for our own edification, but for our own protection. Praise is a weapon. You and I get to choose how we respond to persecution. We can respond in anger, or we can resolve to worship and amplify the values of God's kingdom. When the time comes, I pray that you and I will have the courage to make the right choice. And we resolve to worship even in the midst of mistreatment. God will get the glory, and victory will be ours.
Okay, welcome back. 12 minutes before the top of the hour. And, of course, the Middle East, still big topic these days and a lot going on. So let's get caught up as we check in with CBN Newswatch this morning.
This is CBN Newswatch.
It's Tuesday, May 20th, going to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where Israeli strikes pounded Gaza overnight and into today, after launching another major offensive in the territory in recent days, called Operation Gideon's Chariots. Israel says it aims to return dozens of hostages held by Hamas and to destroy the terrorist group. Thousands evacuated Khan Yunis in the Gaza Strip on Monday after the Israeli military issued a warning urging residents to leave the area. Israel over the weekend launched a new wave of air and ground operations across Gaza. All of that coming after Iran's supreme leader once again called for the destruction of Israel over the weekend, saying it was a source of war. And it is, quote, lethal, dangerous, cancerous tumor that should be eradicated and definitely will be. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joined us now with more on what's happening. So, Chris, we'll talk more about Iran in just a moment. But first, what are the challenges facing Israel's Operation Gideon's Chariots, this new assault on Hamas?
Ephraim, one of the biggest challenges facing Gideon's Chariots is actually moving the population of Gaza and removing them as human shields that Hamas has been using ever since the beginning of the war. What they're trying to do is have these humanitarian areas where people can go to get safety and humanitarian aid. And we know just a few days ago on Sunday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu began sending in aid back into Gaza. The reason for the stoppage was that they wanted to keep the Hamas from stealing the food. Actually, in the Gideon's Chariots is actually now 5 divisions of reservists and soldiers inside Gaza, hundreds of airstrikes. And as we've talked about before, Ephraim, the goal is to control all of Gaza. They call it clear and control, squeeze Hamas, put the pressure to release all of the hostages, and then and hopefully end the war.
Israel has been facing criticism from the United Kingdom, Canada, and France. What is Israel's reaction to that?
Well, first of all, what happened, the UK, France, and Canada, they issued a statement on Monday. They were condemning Israel's handling of the humanitarian aid inside Gaza. They also demanded a Palestinian state. And so Netanyahu reacted. He said the state, a Palestinian state, would be a prize for what was a genocidal attack on October 7th. He reiterated what happened on October 7th, that it was a defensive war. Hamas murdered 1,200 innocent people and abducted over 250. He says, Netanyahu, that is, the war could end tomorrow if the hostages were released and Hamas surrenders, and then have their leaders exiled, and then Gaza demilitarized. He says no nation could be expected to accept anything less. He calls it a war of civilization over barbarism, and these was the reaction to these three nations. Also, Gideon Sa'ar, the foreign minister of Israel, said Israel's fighting for its very existence, and it won't accept any dictates from outside with regard to Israel's national security.
Chris, what is the outlook on talks on the hostages?
Well, right now we know the latest is that there's been a 2-month ceasefire, and now we have the Gideon's chariots resumed. Qatar's prime minister has said that there's a fundamental difference between the two sides. He says the talks are stalled. What Israel is demanding is the release of all the hostages, Hamas to disarm or surrender, and that Hamas can't rule Gaza. Hamas demands on the other side will be the end of the war and Israel pulls out all of its troops, and then Hamas would survive. Right now, Qatar's blaming Israel because of the new offensive, but also Israel's getting pressure from the White House. President Trump, according to its spokesman, wants to see an end to the conflict. On the other hand, U.S. envoy Adam Boehler, he says Hamas is the main force holding back a deal.
You mentioned in your report that Iran's supreme leaders call for the destruction of Israel once again. What's Israel's reaction?
Well, I think this is the typical rhetoric by Khamenei that's been going on for years. They call for death to Israel, death to the United States. They also said that Trump was using U.S. power to bring a massacre in Gaza and dropping bombs on children and waging wars anyway. They called for the destruction of Israel as well, the Zionist entity. Sometimes they don't even use the word Israel, calling it a source of corruption, a cancerous tumor that would be eradicated, and it would be. So behind all this is their motivation for a nuclear weapon. And many people here in Israel say, when they say these things, you need to believe them when they clearly tell you what their agenda is. This all comes just a day after President Trump's Middle East visit. But on the other hand, they say they'll continue the nuclear talks despite this harsh rhetoric by Khamenei. And on the other hand, President Trump has repeatedly vowed Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, as he said last week, that all action would be taken to stop Tehran's program.
Well, just by that alone tells you something's inevitable. Yeah. And one day we're going to wake up and that's going to be the big story that they went into Iran at some level. I can't help but see, you cannot enter into talks that go nowhere.
Yeah, true.
And the pattern of the talks in the past is they don't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So, hey, I want to just say to our viewers and listeners, too, something really positive happened yesterday. As you know, and we've kept it a little bit quiet only because it's so involved, but theDove was the only independent broadcast company in the United States that sued the FCC to get rid of DEI. Yeah. There were other broadcast organizations working together, encouraging the FCC to drop the policy. Mm-hmm. But our argument was that, no, they were never given the authority by Congress to implement DEI. And it ended up through a series, and this has been going on for quite some time, it ended up in the Fifth Circuit yesterday, or this past month or so. The Fifth Circuit started hearing all the arguments, and primarily the argument that was presented by the Texas Association of Broadcasters, which basically, at the end of their argument, they incorporated what we did by saying the Congress never gave them the authority to do this. So the combination of other broadcast organizations statewide, individual ministries and companies that said drop the policy, and our case that said no, you were never given the authority to do this in the first place. Yeah. All of that came together, and the Fifth Circuit yesterday said to the FCC to vacate DEI policy. In other words, they do not have the authority to implement it. It's off the FCC.
Wow.
So we have won the case, but here's what's interesting. It's very complicated, and I'll stay loose from it here, but here's the deal. If that stayed in place, organizations like us was one lawsuit away from becoming extinct. That's how dangerous it was. All right, take with you Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace and believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. There you go. Great word for you today.
adventure with Hellgate Jetboat Excursions. Discover your wild side in the heart of the Pacific Northwest with Hellgate's high-speed spins, stunning Rogue River scenery, and incredible wildlife sightings. It's an experience like no other. Plus, you can enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, a place where families connect, friends unite, and the river brings it all to life. Visit Hellgate.com to book your adventure. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Range Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
God's eternal power and divine nature are seen in creation. But in a world blinded by darkness, the Life Outdoors is here to pull back the veil. The mountains don't lie. Truth leads to Jesus. Wake the wild within.
The Dove TV is encouraging and informative, and your place to see Transformed, a groundbreaking series that takes you behind closed doors to witness biblical counseling with real people facing real issues. Transformed reveals how lives are changed through Scripture. No issue is taken off the table. Join Dr. Greg Gifford and see lives transformed from brokenness to wholeness. Watch Mondays and Thursdays only on the Dove TV.
Would you like to know your faith better? Then join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, where Jerry Bilden sets the pace, and I'm here to do cleanup.
Well, these days the pace is a lot slower, isn't it?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, man.
I don't know. We're doing pretty well. Not every guy with a broken leg drives a zero-turn mower.
But I still have a little hitch in my giddy-up.
No, you do.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. A lot going on in the news. There always is. We'll get to that. The weather is kind of interesting. You know, we woke up, there's some clouds out there this morning. Mm-hmm. By the end of the day yesterday, it was just an absolutely gorgeous day. You know, you had the clouds, the puffy clouds, you had sunshine, you had the green grass, everything was like that. Today we got the clouds back. We'll talk to the make-believe weatherman coming up in a little bit about the truth of all of that. Good morning, buddy. What's up?
Well, it's National Streaming Day, recognizing the advancing and growing technology that makes our mobile lives run more smoothly.
Yep.
And you know, it's interesting too, because sometimes in in this industry we have little glitches that happen.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes something's out at the tower or however it goes, but you can always tell what's out by where you're getting your texts and emails telling us we got a problem. If it's locally, especially in our TV coverage zones, well, you know it. But when I start getting them from like Visalia, California, and stuff like that, I know that it's the streaming part that's out. So, but there are glitches everywhere. But streaming, I don't think that any of us could have really imagined how far streaming would have gone, when it first came out, and where it still is to go after this point. Because it's now that you can watch anything you want on your computer or on your smart TV.
it's unlimited.
It is.
And I might say to our viewers and listeners, if you want to share the Dove with other friends, family members, and friends, just tell them to go to the Dove website. You can stream it. It's streaming live there right now.
Right.
We're on Roku. So a lot of smart TVs come with Roku already built in.
That's right. Yeah.
We're on Apple TV, but there's nothing preventing you watching the Dove Morning Show. You can watch it on your computer. You can watch it on your TV if you have a smart TV, and you can watch it on the Dove app.
Yeah.
And believe me, the hits, the digital reaction to things today. In fact, the analytics in digital are fascinating.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and I get this report every once in a while about how many people tune in, how many people tune out, how long they stay there, what are they looking for, and things like that. So it's pretty fascinating. The bottom line is, it's all over the place.
Yeah. Do people tune out more frequently when the weather comes on?
Well, they're trying to figure out if this guy's believable or not.
Okay, National Rescue Dog Day. Okay. Recognizing the benefits of allowing a four-legged canine to adopt you. Now, there's a concept.
Yeah, it's a new breed called AKC Neighborhood.
That's it. There you go. And, you know, that kind of happens. You think you're adopting a dog, but they do adopt you. And I have proof of it myself. But, you know, there are a lot of dogs out there that are in need of homes. Did you know that approximately 3.3 million dogs enter shelters every year?
Wow.
And they all need a home. So
do you realize Labradoodle was an accident that became a breed?
Oh my gosh, Labradoodles
became a breed.
I have a loved one who has a Labradoodle.
Yeah.
And that thing is, it's like, well, it's more than one of their kids. It's it's amazing.
They have a personality.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have an attitude.
Yeah, but I see. Here's the thing.
Like cats.
Yes, but here's the deal. They named their Labradoodle Maverick. You know, like the pilot on Top Gun. A Labradoodle named Maverick. Are you kidding me?
No.
Love you guys, though. Now they just went click.
Labradoodle named Maverick?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on. It is National Sugar Bee Apple Day. Apples developed by honeybees. Yes, a bee transferred pollen from an unknown apple variety to a Honeycrisp apple blossom, and all of a sudden, boom, the sugar bee apple was born.
Yep, cross-pollination.
How about that?
Yep.
I've never even heard of it, and it is a registered trademark, Sugar Bee Apples. Also, National Pick Strawberries Day, you know, celebrating the start of the strawberry season. And, you know, in Oregon, we have wild strawberries, too.
We do.
Yeah.
But we have these strawberry patches around here in Southern Oregon that are just wonderful. And, you know, what's interesting, for years, I say for years, for the last couple of years, they were replaced with hemp.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And the hemp business kind of failed, praise the Lord. And now they're putting strawberries back in.
I got a question for you, though. There was that strawberry patch down at the end of, what is it, Russ Hanley?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that still there? I went by it the other day and I didn't see anything.
Well, look now. That's the one I drive by all the time.
Okay.
And they're putting the rows in. They're putting the plastic down.
Okay. All right.
And they come along. They put the little holes in the plastic.
Yep.
In goes the strawberry.
Is the plastic like weed control? Okay.
And helps actually control the water so it doesn't bake it and go away and goes to the plant.
Weed control, you know. If I rolled that over my lawn, I'd have no lawn.
I know.
I mean, all my weeds are. Anyway, moving on.
Green, you mow it.
And finally, one thing, you know, main dish to eat. It is National Quiche Lorraine Day, and Quiche Lorraine has its origins in Fran rule. And this explains why the word quiche comes from the German word Kuchen, meaning cake. So like egg cake. So any kind of, well, quiche Lorraine is a entity into itself.
Well, it's egg and cheese, and this one has some bacon bits in it.
And that makes it even better. Yeah. Absolutely.
Actually, that's really pretty good.
It's wonderful.
Now, I've seen people take that one right there with the eggs and cheese and bacon bits.
Yeah.
And then put hot sauce on it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Well, Iron got here.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, and you know, especially with hot sauce, real men eat quiche.
I know.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy.
I'm going to get you a jalapeno hat.
I'll wear it.
All right. Here he is, Mr. Hot Sauce himself, right here.
Still some showers at the top of our region, but clearing as we move south. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, showers likely with highs in the low to mid-60s for Vancouver and Portland. A chance of showers, then partly sunny in low to mid-60s for Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley with a chance of showers mainly in the morning, then gradual clearing to partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-60s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. In central Oregon, mostly sunny with daytime highs in the low 60s for Prineville and Bend, becoming sunny in upper 50s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, becoming sunny and breezy with a high near 66. Along the Oregon coast, a slight chance of showers with patchy fog, then sunny and 61 in Coos Bay, becoming sunny and breezy with highs in the mid to upper 50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny in upper 60s to low 70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the upper 60s. Into northern California, sunny with highs in the low 70s around Wairika. More sunshine moving south with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with a light northwest wind. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the low 80s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 68 and a west wind gusting up to 22 miles per hour. And today in San Jose, sunny and 79. It's a snapshot of your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Hi, there you go. Beautiful shot from the top of Roxanne. That's right at the south end of the valley. Now starting to pan northward. So you see the clouds, they'll give way to more sunshine.
Beautiful. Well, coming out of the weather, this is a perfect segue into our fun fact of the day because it is very weather oriented. If you're out and you're in your day and you're wondering what the temperature is and you have no way to check it, here's a way you can do it. If you count, did you know you can tell temperature by counting crickets' chirps?
This is unbelievable.
If you count how many times a cricket chirps in 15 seconds and then add the number 37, you'll get a number that is very close to the current temperature outside in Fahrenheit, and this is known as Dolbear's Law. And this is according to the Library of Congress and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which we're looking at their website right now, and the cricket's right on the front on the thermometer.
So you count the crickets in how many seconds?
15 seconds. How many times?
Add 30.
And then you add 37. And that'll get you to the temperature that is currently outside. Dolbear's Law. Take it to the bank.
So that means you got to have some.
What if? Okay, here's the deal. What if the crickets aren't chirping?
Oh, it's cold outside.
Which brings up
really cold outside.
Okay, which brings up the next topic. Okay, so when I'm hearing all the frogs up on my upper meadow, they're all, glurk, 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 and then they all turn off at the same time.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think that's another phenomenon, and I'm not up to date on it. I read a little bit about it.
Okay.
Jason's really high on it, so maybe he can come in and explain it.
Yeah, I would love to hear.
But it has a lot to do with birds flying, fish biting, and frogs chirping. Among things.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they'll go for a while, and then they'll be very active, and then they just stop.
Does it affect the fish biting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Feeding.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. It's anyway. I'm not that educated on it, but it comes back. It's an ancient Indian thing. So the only thing I can say is that what makes a frog that be in a pond or around water, going like crazy, then all of a sudden they just stop.
I have no idea because I hear it happen all the time.
I don't know. I mean, do their throats get sore? I mean, they just stop? What's the deal?
And all of them at the same time? What?
Okay. All right. Dr. George.
Yeah. I'm thinking about frogs.
No, go to Dr. George.
All right. Well, Dr. George here with great encouragement. And he says, and this is true, the gospel is for everyone.
There is no distinction between Jew and Greek or Gentile, for the same Lord over all is rich to whom? To all who call upon him. And very few people are as familiar with verse 12 that we're reading as they are with the very next verse, because in verse 13 of Romans 10, he said, for whoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Do you want to know what whoever means? It's a technical word in Greek. You know what it means? Whoever. It means whoever Wherever, however, if they call on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ to be saved, they shall be saved. It's not that we hope they'll be saved. It's not that they might be saved. It's that they shall be saved. What we're saying today is, whoever means what it says, God shows no partiality. The gospel is for everyone. And if you've ever had to go make an application for a loan or maybe even to look at a home, have you ever heard of the term pre-qualification? You have to fill out paperwork and you have to get approved before you can take the next step. That's not how the gospel works. You don't have to jump through hoops and get pre-qualified to come to Jesus. See, that's why we need the gospel, because we're already pre-disqualified. We're already thrown out on the ash heap of life because we're sinners cut off from a holy God. So when he says, come to me just like you are, there are no conditions that must be met except for you to come as you are, to admit to God you are who you are, and that's why you need him to save you. That's the glory of our gospel. It is a gospel for everyone.
Amen.
He's so good.
Yep.
Good stuff all the way around. All right, 13 minutes past the hour. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. And, of course, the big top stories is that President Trump did reach out to President Putin yesterday on a phone call. And apparently they did agree that Moscow and Ukraine, Kyiv, will get together and start negotiating immediately towards a ceasefire to end the war. Now, the elements of all of that we don't know. The timing of that we don't know. We know that Zelensky and Putin, for some reason, can't get together, or at least they haven't been able to tolerate each other, I guess. And so it takes a mediator. President Trump is becoming that mediator, and he's bringing the two together. Now, we'll see if this all follows through. Yesterday, as I do so often when I get a headline like this, as big as it is, I quickly go through all the other sites just to see how it's being covered, and I was just absolutely amazed. Anyway, some of the news sources just said Putin doesn't need Trump and da-da-da-da. Well, who made the phone call?
Right.
And so, anyway, at least it's an attempt.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll see where that goes. All right, in the meantime, this story is really interesting. As you know, sanctuary states and sanctuary cities are a phenomenon. Oregon, believe it or not, is the oldest sanctuary state in the country. And sanctuary cities is where people can come, I guess, and hide from being deported, basically. And it's really caused a lot of problems. And while they're hiding from being deported or whatever, it's being seen, or at least it was created with an attempt to maybe bring them into the culture or whatever. But while they were there, they're given all of this aid and everything, more than some people that are citizens do. Anyway, it seemed to be a locked door for ICE and other people to come in and deport these people. Well, in the meantime, the United States attorney in the District of California, all right, so that's how that all breaks down. He saw a loophole, and the loophole was that he decided to create a program called Operation Guardian Angel, which is a task force made up of assets from ICE, HSI, DEA, FBI, ATF, and the Border Patrol, to begin scanning criminal databases every single day to identify arrested illegal aliens in local jurisdictions that the DOJ can charge with a felony illegal reentry, charge them with a felony. And that is the loophole that nobody can stop them from going in and getting them.
Wow, okay.
So the U.S. attorney comes in the back door to arrest these people if they're there illegally. And apparently, starting yesterday, he filed up to 50 warrants for their arrest. Now, the sanctuary cities and states can't prevent a warrant.
Okay, yeah.
So if there's a warrant for somebody's arrest, they have to cooperate with it.
You would hope they would cooperate, right?
So that's the other issue. If they don't cooperate, are they harboring a criminal?
Well,
and are they harboring illegal people? And is that, it's kind of like the gal that was harboring him in the jury office.
Yeah,
the judge did.
Yeah, she took him out the back door.
Took him out the back door. So this is a loophole that could catch fire.
Oh, man.
So we'll see where this one goes. Okay.
All right.
Well, yesterday, one of the big stories is Medicaid is part of the things that's going to be adjusted with all the things trying to cut operations down. And Medicaid has swollen to this huge organization. The question is it serving first the people who qualify, or is it just serving everybody that they want to throw in there? And what are the jurisdictions? Well, as you can know, this is a very controversial thing. It's in the news every day. And so yesterday, Caroline Levitt there in the press office, she answered the big question.
So the president wants to preserve and protect Medicaid for Americans who this program was intended for, the most vulnerable in our society, pregnant women, low-income families, seniors, those who truly need these benefits. And it should be going to people who physically cannot work. We want to see able-bodied Americans at least working 20 hours per week, whether that's part-time or full-time, whether that's even looking for work or volunteering for 20 hours a week if they are receiving Medicaid. These are common sense provisions. These are common sense changes that were actually introduced by former Democrat President Clinton. They've been supported by every Democrat president since, including the previous president, Joe Biden. But again, these are common sense reforms to ensure that those that this program was intended for receive those benefits.
There you go.
Well, basically, how many people are on Medicaid that don't belong there? So this is the in-house audit to clean it up. And, of course, if you take any benefit away from anybody, you're going to be demonized for it. But the question really is, do they deserve it? Do they qualify to be there in the first place?
Yeah, well, it's just, I think all of this in the government waste and DOGE trying to oversee all these things, we find about all the people that are getting Social Security who aren't even alive.
Well, so that's part of it. And
I mean,
how
yeah,
many
it seems to
people
be
receiving Medicaid that are illegal?
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, it's an audit, and it's getting a lot of negative press, and I guess it would from those who, are looking for anything that will stick. But anyway, that's what's happened there. All right, we'll take a quiche break.
Please.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
All right, welcome back. 21 past the hour. We had an apple today. It's a bee something apple.
Yeah, what was that thing?
A bee.
Sugar bee.
Sugar bee apple.
Yep.
Okay, now, I like bees.
Yeah, I know you do. You were a beekeeper at one time, weren't you?
One time, and when I was in my younger days, my first 4-H project with bees, and I've been fascinated with them ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you that don't swat a honeybee.
Yeah.
Kiss it and send it on.
Okay.
But today is Bee Day in Slovenia. Because Slovenia, thank you, Barb, for sending this to me. Slovenia has more beekeepers per capita than any other country. It is the birthplace of the World Bee Day. It's celebrated today.
Well, I'll be.
I tell you what, we are borderline bee crises in the world.
Mm-hmm.
No bees, no food.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So, and they're tough to raise, and it's a hard business to be in.
And even homeowners can help, the health of the bee populations by growing things around your yard that are bee friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if you see a beehive in the tree and you think, oh, I got to get rid of that, and you go out there and try to get rid of it. No. Call somebody. Call animal control or call a beekeeper. They'll come out and get it.
They'll come move it. Yeah.
They'll come move it, and they'll put it in a hive and protect it. But, boy, I really enjoy it. I laid them out on white sheets, and we'd find the queen bee, and we put it over here. And then I sold the little cubes of honey for 50 cents.
Oh, wow. Last year during a Major League Baseball game, a swarm of bees came and started swarming on the backstop net right behind the catcher.
Really?
Yes.
In the game?
At the start of the game, and they had to stop the warm-ups and everything. They had to move people away. They got a beekeeper in, and he came and he moved the swarm. The crowd went wild. After he was done, he went out and threw out the ceremonial first pitch.
Oh, did he? Did he use smoke?
Yeah, I don't know how he moved it.
We used to have smokers, and we still do, and the smoke will calm the bees down. And they won't fly a whole lot if there's a queen in there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and if you go to New Zealand, you get the Manuka honey, which is
Manuka honey.
Yeah, it's made from bees pollinate the Manuka tree. It's the most expensive honey you can buy. You'll see it in stores, and you'll pay for it.
Really?
But it's also got a lot of medical use to it. You scratch your arm, you put Manuka honey on there.
What kind of honey?
Manuka.
What is a Manuka tree?
It's a tree. Okay. It grows up.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, I used to sell the royal jelly.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is royal jelly?
Well, it's what they do to pollinate the egg to make more bees. And so what you do is they'll go up and they'll lay the royal jelly in the cell, and then the queen comes up and puts the egg in there. Okay. So and that'll turn to honey if you're not careful. So what you do is you put a screen there so that the queen can't get up there.
Okay.
And that's where you get the honey.
Wow.
And then the propolis is all the dust from all of that, and that's the whole. And it's all very good for you.
Oh, okay.
It's all very healthy.
Wonderful. Yeah. Protect the bees.
That was my 4-H years ago. Gosh, why would you get off on that? Let's get off on
Slovenia. B-Day.
Thank you, Barb. Overdose deaths in Oregon are down 22%.
Oh, that's good news.
That's good news.
Yeah.
And apparently, we did away with Measure 11. We start prosecuting these things now, but death overdose are way down 22% and 26.9% across the country. So we'll see how that goes. That's good news. Okay. The other one is this is going to be interesting today. There's an election. Today is election day in a lot of places, but today in Klamath County, they're going to have on the ballot a levy to offer emergency response services, crime prevention programs, and community safety initiatives covering the eastern county, where residents say there is a concerned amount of criminal activity rising. Now, this goes back to why President Trump continued to be very popular, is because he's made America safe. Safety and security is a big issue. So if a rural county in southern Oregon votes in a levy that shows you how big the issue is of security, okay? We've demonized cops.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Now everybody wants one a phone call away.
Yeah, well, sure.
This will be interesting if this passes, and I'll let you know if it does, because I think this is a trend across the country. Peace, peace and safety, but really safety and security.
Right, 100%.
Okay. All right, we'll take a bee break. We'll be right back.
The walls fall down and our land be healed. But church, if they want to see a change, gotta start right here.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Hey, it's your old car here. Remember me? Remember us? You barely even turn me on anymore. It's clear you don't need me, but that's perfectly fine, my friend, because you can choose to give this old car new purpose and donate. There are incredible nonprofits out there that accept cars just like me. So call or donate online. Donating a vehicle is easy, the pickup is free, and your gift is tax deductible.
The Dove TV is encouraging and informative, and your place to see Transformed, a groundbreaking series that takes you behind closed doors to witness biblical counseling with real people facing real issues. Transformed reveals how lives are changed through Scripture. No issue is taken off the table. Join Dr. Greg Gifford and see lives transformed from brokenness to wholeness. Watch Mondays and Thursdays only on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. 28 past the hour. Let's check in with Wall Street this morning and see what's happening there. We thank you, Preston from Smart Lawn. He helps us bring that to you every day. And the Dow's off 62 and, 3/4 point. The Nas is down 104 and the S&P down 20, so a little red ink this morning. Could be, who knows what, a little profit taking. That did push gold up to 32, almost 32.50. Silver's at 32.60, so kind of hanging in there. And actually, crude oil's down about 80 cents, $65.10 a barrel. So kind of mixed bag there.
Okay, well, here's a topic that I am totally in the dark about. Maybe you know something about it and you can speak into this at the end of this, but GE Aerospace Chairman and CEO Larry Culp joined Maria Bartiromo and discussed his advocacy for a return to the 1979 Civil Aviation Agreement, which provides for no tariffs.
I think that the trade surplus that the U.S. aerospace industry generates, by our estimates, on the order of $75 billion annually, is front and center for all of us. And an order like this for both GE Aerospace and Boeing, I think, underscore the strength and the resilience of our companies and the industry at large on the global stage. So we'll continue to advocate for a return to the 1979 Civil Aviation Agreement, which provided for no tariffs in both directions across the Atlantic. But obviously, we're in an environment now where those are arrangements that are under review, under negotiation. And what we have told our teams, what we've told our investors, is that we're going to navigate through all of this. We've mitigated a large part of what we anticipate will come our way in 2025. There are additional cost and pricing actions that we'll likely need to take throughout the course of this year. But that's really to make sure that we continue to protect the investments in our business.
Yeah.
And we'll spend $3 billion in R&D this year. We'll put another $1 billion into capital in our supply chain, both in our facilities and with our suppliers. So there's a lot of investments to make because, Maria, this order comes on top of a backlog in excess of $140 billion. We're basically sold out in many ways for the rest of this decade. It's a great position to be in. We've got a lot of work to do. So we'll navigate any of the short-term issues to make sure we take care of our customers and deliver for our investors.
Sold out?
Yes. Now, I'm glad he said that because they are sold out.
Wow.
Okay, so does this open the door for competitors to fill the small gap? And so they got to manage their competition. Airbus.
Right.
Okay. And yet meet the demand, and they're already not doing well because they're behind on Air Force One.
Right.
So they got this mixed bag. But look, the civil aviation thing is interesting. I don't know that much about it, but a lot of people, we ought to get to zero tariffs. Professor Bussler, that I have on the air quite a bit, he's what they call a zero-based accounting expert. He also is a free market proponent.
Okay.
So zero tariffs. Okay. It's called free trade.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens on that. And then zero-based accounting, which I believe in zero-based accounting. That's what I deal with here. So right now, high finance gets all this mixed up. But it is coming down. The bottom line is that President Trump has brought tariffs to the table. He showed the chart. People got it. They're starting to bring it down. People are negotiating. And he took two of the biggest companies in America and he overburdened them with business.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting because he went after this tariff situation, you know, trying to inform us how unequal these things were. And then, of course, he gets blasted from the left. What I really enjoy watching, I like the YouTube videos of Democrat politicians in years gone by, basically saying the same thing about tariffs that Trump says right now.
Yeah, it's just true. It shows you the hypocrisy of it.
Oh, man.
But they also shows you they really don't know what they're talking about. They've never read a balance sheet. They've never made a payroll.
Good point.
They don't pay taxes like we do. They live in a bubble.
And they don't retire like we do, that's for sure.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, we're having fun, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're making our own quiche this morning. Throw some eggs in there.
Yeah.
All right, well, the Middle East, it is still very problematic. So let's check in with CBN News Watch.
This is CBN News Watch.
It's Tuesday, May 20th, going to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where Israeli strikes pounded Gaza overnight and into today, after launching another major offensive in the territory in recent days, called Operation Gideon's Chariots. Israel says it aims to return dozens of hostages held by Hamas and to destroy the terrorist group. Thousands evacuated Khan Yunis in the Gaza Strip on Monday after the Israeli military issued a warning urging residents to leave the area. Israel over the weekend launched a new wave of air and ground operations across Gaza, all of that coming after Iran's supreme leader once again called for the destruction of Israel over the weekend, saying it was a source of war and it is, quote, lethal, dangerous, cancerous tumor that should be eradicated and definitely will be. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joined us now with more on what's happening. So, Chris, we'll talk more about Iran in just a moment. But first, what are the challenges facing Israel's Operation Gideon's Chariots, this new assault on Hamas?
Ephraim, one of the biggest challenges facing Gideon's Chariots is actually moving the population of Gaza and removing them as human shields that Hamas has been using ever since the beginning of the war. What they're trying to do is have these humanitarian areas where people can go to get safety and humanitarian aid. And we know just a few days ago on Sunday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu began sending in aid back into Gaza. The reason for the stoppage was that they wanted to keep the Hamas from stealing the food. Actually, in the Gideon's Chariots is actually now 5 divisions of reservists and soldiers inside Gaza, hundreds of airstrikes. And as we've talked about before, Ephraim, the goal is to control all of Gaza. They call it clear and control, squeeze Hamas, put the pressure to release all of the hostages, and then and hopefully end the war.
Israel has been facing criticism from the United Kingdom, Canada, and France. What is Israel's reaction to that?
Well, first of all, what happened, the UK, France, and Canada, they issued a statement on Monday. They were condemning Israel's handling of the humanitarian aid inside Gaza. They also demanded a Palestinian state. And so Netanyahu reacted. He said the state, a Palestinian state, would be a prize for what was a genocidal attack on October 7th. He reiterated what happened on October 7th, that it was a defensive war. Hamas murdered 1,200 innocent people and abducted over 250. He says, Netanyahu, that is, the war could end tomorrow if the hostages were released and Hamas surrenders, and then have their leaders exiled, and then Gaza demilitarized. He says no nation could be expected to accept anything less. He calls it a war of civilization over barbarism, and these was the reaction to these three nations. Also, Gideon Sa'ar, the foreign minister of Israel, said Israel's fighting for its very existence, and it won't accept any dictates from outside with regard to Israel's national security.
Chris, what is the outlook on talks on the hostages?
Well, right now we know the latest is that there's been a 2-month ceasefire, and now we have Gideon's chariots resumed. Qatar's prime minister has said that there's a fundamental difference between the two sides. He says the talks are stalled. What Israel is demanding is the release of all the hostages, Hamas to disarm or surrender, and that Hamas can't rule Gaza. Hamas demands on the other side will be the end of the war and Israel pulls out all of its troops, and then Hamas would survive. Right now, Qatar's blaming Israel because of the new offensive, but also Israel's getting pressure from the White House. President Trump, according to its spokesman, would like to see, wants to see an end to the conflict. On the other hand, U.S. envoy Adam Boehler, he says Hamas is the main force holding back a deal.
You mentioned in your report that Iran's supreme leaders call for the destruction of Israel once again. What's Israel's reaction?
Well, I think this is the typical rhetoric by Khamenei that's been going on for years. They call for death to Israel, death to the United States. They also said that Trump was using U.S. power to bring a massacre in Gaza and dropping bombs on children and waging wars anyway. They called for the destruction of Israel as well, the Zionist entity. Sometimes they don't even use the word Israel, calling it a source of corruption, a cancerous tumor that would be eradicated, and it would be. So behind all this is their motivation for a nuclear weapon. And many people here in Israel say, when they say these things, you need to believe them when they clearly tell you what their agenda is. This all comes just a day after President Trump's Middle East visit. But on the other hand, they say they'll continue the nuclear talks despite this harsh rhetoric by Khamenei. And on the other hand, President Trump has repeatedly vowed Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, as he said last week, that all action would be taken to stop Tehran's program.
So interesting. Mm-hmm. Israel, United States say no nukes. They're saying we want to talk, but we want to blow your head off.
Right, yeah.
I mean, what do you do with that?
Yeah, well, and also, too, you hear the rhetoric coming out from, the Ayatollah talking about, okay, on one hand, we would like them to get rid of the nukes, and on the other hand, he's saying death to Israel. It's like, so is there any doubt about if they do get it, what's going to happen?
Well, it's obvious.
Yeah,
and I think
totally.
The other thing, they're trying to disguise it now. Well, we want a nuclear program for power for our citizens.
Oh, gosh.
Boy, oh, boy. All right, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, you talk about nuke and nuclear. This guy can do it right here.
Still some showers at the top of our region, but clearing as we move south. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, showers likely with highs in the low to mid-60s for Vancouver and Portland. A chance of showers, then partly sunny and low to mid-60s for Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley with a chance of showers mainly in the morning, then gradual clearing to partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-60s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. In central Oregon, mostly sunny with daytime highs in the low 60s for Prineville and Bend, becoming sunny in upper 50s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, becoming sunny and breezy with a high near 66. Along the Oregon coast, a slight chance of showers with patchy fog, then sunny and 61 in Coos Bay, becoming sunny and breezy with highs in the mid to upper 50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny in upper 60s to low 70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the upper 60s. Into northern California, sunny with highs in the low 70s around Wairika. More sunshine moving south with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s for Redding, Chico, and Sacramento with a light northwest wind. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the low 80s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 68 and a west wind gusting up to 22 miles per hour. And today in San Jose, sunny and 79. It's a snapshot of your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Oh, man. And by the way, I just heard the cricket chirp 23 times.
You did.
That means you add that to 37. It's 50 degrees outside.
Let me look at my watch. Well, you're right. Was that a chirp from a cricket? Or was that Dan scratching his head in there?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. I might have misinterpreted. Well, at the time, it was the most amazing telescope ever built, and as it orbited Earth, it was on this day in history that we got to take a look at the first images taken through its lens.
On May 20th, 1990, the world held its breath as the Hubble Space Telescope beamed back its very first photographs from orbit. After years of anticipation and billions of dollars, humanity was about to see the universe like never before. The images arrived, and they were blurry. Confusion turned to dismay. The pristine lenses, engineered to peer across time and space, had a tiny but devastating flaw: a millimeter-wide miscalculation in the mirror's curvature. It was like asking the most powerful eye ever built to stare through a fogged-up lens. NASA scientists, stunned but undeterred, devised a solution. If Hubble needed glasses, they'd send them in space. In 1993, astronauts performed a daring servicing mission installing CoStar, an optical correction system like interstellar spectacles. When Hubble's corrected eyes opened again, they captured starlight with dazzling clarity, galaxies dancing, nebula glowing, and the edge of time itself. But on this day in history, Hubble needed an appointment with the eye doctor.
I remember it. It was like billions of dollars spent. Get it up there, get the whole thing, get the first pictures in. Uh-oh, it's out of focus.
Wow.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, so they sent him up there some battery DeWalts and drills.
Yeah, an optometrist with a DeWalt.
As long as my dentist doesn't show up with a DeWalt.
Yeah. You know. Sometimes it feels like
he's a little upset with me because I keep mentioning bad days to root canals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
He said, "Can you come up with something else that kind of describe your moment?" He said, "You're giving me a bad reputation."
Does he say that as he's approaching your mouth with the drill?
I've learned now. You know, he's a great guy, Dr. Borg, and I thought, okay, what do I do here? Because he is going to put his hands in my mouth. But he also has another thing. He puts a wedge in there so you can't bite him.
Oh. Yeah. I've had that wedge. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Raising kids are always a challenge, as you well know. And so what happens when there's extra burden for Christian moms sometimes feel that they want to make sure that their children understand that they are saved. Mm-hmm. You can convince them that God really loves you and you're okay. And how do you take away that anxiety? Well, Jeannie Cunyon on Focus on the Family, here's what they had to say.
I do. I think there's an extra layer because we have bought into the lie that our kids' faith and the fruit of their life is all dependent on what we do. It's like I am learning all over again to not trust in what I've done, but to trust in the Lord. Just this past Sunday, our pastor was preaching on Jeremiah 17, and he got to verse 7, and it says, trust, what does he say? He says, blessed is the man, and I was like, blessed is the mom, whose trust is in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. And the sermon wasn't about motherhood, but it just really convicted me that lately I have been putting my trust back in what I've done. And the Lord was really inviting me to release it all over again and say, no, trust in me. Do your part. You are commanded to raise them in the love and the knowledge of me. Do that. Yeah. And let them see how much you love me, and let them see how much you need me. Because we can do those things. We can plant these seeds, which we need to do. All those spiritual practices of memorizing scripture and serving others and reading the Bible together are so essential. But if my kids don't see me trusting the Lord with what I'm doing, and they see me trying to manipulate the outcomes, what does that teach them about where my trust is?
Where your trust is, who you're trusting in. Yeah. And I love that Jeremiah 17, and you're right, the translation says blessed is the man, you're saying blessed is the mom, and if I'm not mistaken, it says something like who trust, because then the flourishing happens and the seeds spring up, and you're talking about that with that growth there.
Even in dry lands and in hot temperatures, meaning hard times will still come, but when our trust is rooted in the Lord, the flourishing will happen. And it's rarely in the timing that I want to see it happen. And I can say that with certainty now because I've got boys from 8 to 28. So I know the difference in parenting an 8-year-old where you can still have charts and things that are really helpful to help them learn consequences and boundaries. But the older they get, the more you learn how little control you have over the outcome and how desperate you are to pray and to see the Lord work in their lives through your prayers.
It kind of echoes what we said yesterday with Bill Gallagher. Fast forward that up to the time where they graduate, and now they start to move out on their own.
Yeah.
Can you accept the fact that your only response now is you have to trust God to take care of them?
Yeah, and especially if that graduation is from high school and they're going on to college and they're going on to a non-Christian college, and you got a serious prayer life in front of you with that, because we know what goes on in those 4 years.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Okay, coming up, did you understand the big, beautiful bill? Well, it got into trouble, okay? And it's still kind of weighing out there, and the president, as we speak, is on the Hill trying to pull it all together. We'll talk about that when we come back.
In the heart of the Rogue Valley, RVTD connects us all, not just through miles traveled, but also through time. With renewable technologies and more convenient ways to get around, RVTD's building a future that keeps our region connected. Public transportation isn't just about getting from here to there. It's about the journey, past, present, and future. Rogue Valley Transportation District, celebrating 50 years of moving our community forward.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
They travel across America to give an answer for questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
The Gospels are historically reliable.
Their mission, present truth, faith, and help people find purpose.
Not based on blind faith.
Join them as they strive to make a lasting impact on lives and hearts for Christ.
They're either all wrong or one of them's right. I got to go to the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Don't miss Give Me an Answer, weekdays at 3 on the Dove TV.
Well, good morning to you. 10 minutes before the hour, this thing called the Big Beautiful Bill, really it's a tax cut bill that's been going, it's the president's plan tax cut. It gets over to the House, goes through the process, and there's 4 or 5 Republicans that are not happy with it and actually voted, on the first go-around, voted against it. And then it goes back for negotiation, and so it's sitting there with the understanding that it could pass today by some of those who oppose it by just voting present, not voting against it or for it.
Right.
But even that sends a bad signal. So the president, as if he doesn't need any more sleep, is on the Hill as we speak, working with the Speaker and trying to get this bill through. A lot of controversy over it, okay?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And this is how sausage is made.
Oh no.
It's really bad.
Oh.
Okay, well, Ben Shapiro, now, if you can keep up with him, he tries to explain and breaks down the president's big, beautiful tax bill, and here's how he put it.
There's not much in the tax cut bill for people who are low income, mainly because people who are low income are not paying taxes in the United States. And so whenever people say this tax bill disproportionately benefits the rich, well, I mean, I would assume because the rich absolutely overpay proportionally based on their income, like wildly disproportionately. The top quintile of income earners in this country pay all net taxes in the country, all of them. Net taxes meaning the amount you pay to the government versus the services you get back from the government. A lot of middle income people are paying taxes, but they're also receiving tremendous benefits back from the government in the form of various forms of welfare, social support, and all of the rest. Representative Blake Moore of Utah said this is not a bill for billionaire relief, but Democrats are casting the bill as an unacceptable giveaway to well-off people at the expense of most Americans. So there are a bunch of different provisions that are controversial here. One is the tax data, and then one is the question of where some cuts are coming from. So if you look at the actual material in the bill, the Tax Foundation has a good rundown on the bill, taxfoundation.org. And what they find through their preliminary analysis is that the tax provisions would increase long-run GDP by 0.6%, which is a solid increase in GDP, in national growth. It would reduce federal tax revenue by $4.1 trillion over the course of the next decade. Again, what does that mean? It means the federal government will take in less money than it would have if it left the top tax rates at a higher rate. So you're increasing growth, but you're decreasing the revenue to the government, the amount of money that the government steals from the taxpayers. On a dynamic basis, the revenue reduction would fall by 19% to $3.3 trillion over 10 years before the added interest costs. So they're saying that basically that $4.1 trillion that you're missing, that's assuming a static level of economic growth. If you include the economic growth, then you end up with more revenue back to the government, but you're still going to end up with, in addition to the deficit, of some $3.3 trillion. Overall, the bill would prevent tax increases on 62% of taxpayers that would occur if the Trump tax cuts were to expire. But there are other provisions that are being eliminated, like, for example, bonus depreciation and research and development expensing. So in some ways, this is a significantly more populist tax cut bill than the Trump tax cut bill the first time around. This is why, for example, there's no tax on tips included, but they're getting rid of bonus depreciation. The House-passed budget resolution would allow a $4.5 trillion increase in the deficit from tax cuts over the next decade, so long as spending is also cut by $1.7 trillion. But if they don't cut the spending, if that spending never materializes, then the cap on the tax cuts gets reduced dollar for dollar. So the question is where those cuts come from. This is where most of the controversy is occurring, not with regard to the tax rates per se, but with regard to the cuts. Where are the cuts occurring to offset some of the loss in revenue to the federal government? And the answer is in restructuring of Medicaid, particularly.
Okay, that's the big one. Mm-hmm. Okay, man. But we also know there's a lot of savings going on that DOGE has found. Not only is it fat and fraud, all you got to do is stop funding it. Yeah. And that's going to be an income, or it's going to be an expense wiped off, I should say. Right. In some ways, it's a shadow income. But I think what the president's heading towards here is that when he gets before the State of the Union address before the American people next year, he can get up and say he's increased revenue this much, he's decreased expenses this much, therefore we're heading towards a balanced budget.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen since Newt Gingrich.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be an interesting thing on that, but I don't know. It's
what do you think the chances are?
What?
Of getting the big, beautiful bill through?
Well, he's on the Hill today.
Yeah. Do you think Republicans will line up with him, or are there some on the further to the right that aren't quite on board with this yet?
Boy, this is really sticky. There are those on the far right that won't go down this road with them for various reasons. And some of it, a lot of it has to do with I shouldn't say the embarrassment, the conflict that Medicaid brings into the picture.
Right.
If they hold out and tank the bill, you're going to get the wrath of the president, which is not going to be an easy thing to live through. However, you could outlive the president because he is a lame duck president.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So. That could be what they're gambling.
Oh, yeah.
He's a nice guy. We like what he's doing, but he's not going far enough, and we wanted to do this, and we're going to say no to this. The other thing the president has to be very, very careful of is, do you really want to empower these people?
Oh, yeah.
If they if they tank his bill, they're in power.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, take with you Romans 15:13 today. All right, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. Remember, your hope is in Him, not Washington, not red, not blue, not purple. And thank Him for a beautiful place in which you live, right there called the Rogue Valley.
Go where the wild runs deep. At Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions, you feel the power of the mighty Rogue River as you take in the sights and sounds of nature, journey through Hellgate Canyon, and adventure through the breathtaking wilderness. Enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, and end your adventure with our exciting jet boat spins. It's a memory in the making with family and friends. Book your adventure at Hellgate.com. Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Where big ideas grow.
One of the few things He asks us to do after we accept Him is to further His kingdom. That's important.
When we give, the gospel is going out to reach people.
Bible stories are broken down in a way that children can understand it.
I think of that scripture that says, what you have done for these little ones, you have done unto me.
Watch the 700 Club, weekdays at 11 on the Dove TV. Cliff Connectley travels across America to give an answer to questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
So one of the reasons I believe that God exists.
Join him for Give Me an Answer, weekdays on the Dove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
I know many people that have tried everything in life and they have not found satisfaction, inward peace, joy, assurance, and security. And they're still searching. You'll never find peace and joy and happiness until you yield your life to Christ. You never will. You have a moment right now. The Bible says now is the accepted time. Today is the day of salvation. People are searching for the answers. You must make the choice.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Be encouraged.
Be informed.
Join us weekdays for Mornings on the Dove.
Right here on the Dove TV.
Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and of course, often reminded of the scripture that says, seek first the kingdom of God, and then all these other things will be added to you. And I've been so looking forward to this special guest today. Charlie Lewis is with us. He's a seasoned businessman, military pilot, Vietnam veteran, and author of more than a dozen books, including The Kingdom System. We're going to talk to him about that. The correct choice to alternative systems of the world. He's the founder of a national insurance business and has traveled to over 60 countries, sharing his life-changing message of God's kingdom. His teachings, have been translated into multiple languages to reach people literally all over the world. And he does have a website, ksam.net, ksam.net, and there's a picture of the landing page. Charlie, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Fine. How are you, Perry? Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your time. I've been looking forward to having you. A lot to talk about here. Just maybe basically to help us get going, how would you describe kingdom system?
Well, the government of heaven delivered to the earth, and God's plan for governance for humanity.
And you've written quite a few series on this. You got the system, you got kingdomnomics, kingdom development, and how do you go about teaching us to apply this?
Well, the kingdom system, I learned, the Holy Spirit taught me this through business. This wasn't something I learned at church or in any kind of training outside. Through business, I was in a business and was doing a particular project on a historical property, and it was going amazing. We're having fantastic results. The Lord just miraculously opened the doors and made this possible, and we were doing really good and had over 5,000 articles on the internet, and still developing this 50 acres with over 40 buildings, and everything was going just amazingly. And then all of a sudden, it was like the door closed. Things started being challenging, and I'm saying, Lord, what's going on here? Because this wasn't one of my dreams. This wasn't a goal or an aspiration I had. I believe you led me here, and so what happened? Why is this all of a sudden happening? And so I began to really seek and to ask the Lord what was going on and what I needed to know out of this. So the Lord led me to read everything that he said when he was on the earth in the person of Jesus Christ, Emmanuel, God with us. So I read everything that he said, and it really was surprising because it taught me a different perspective than I'd had in the past.
How in the world would you describe the revelation of a new perspective?
Well, I believe, Perry, that's pretty evident in Scripture, but I've read it so many times and I really didn't get it. When I read that, I was talking with the Lord in my spirit, and I said, Lord, I was really surprised because you didn't teach most of the things that I was taught that I've been taught in church when you were on the earth. What you really taught, the central theme and the primary message that you delivered to humanity was the kingdom of God. In fact, you mentioned it more than 125 times, and the ecclesia you mentioned only 3 times. So I said, okay, if that's that important to you, then it should be that important to me. So not knowing what the kingdom was, I began a concentrated study of trying to get that revelation and understand what God was saying. And that led me to the understanding of the kingdom system. One of the reasons that made it important was in Matthew 6, where he said, seek first the kingdom. And I believe anywhere that kingdom is used in Scripture, you can substitute government, because that's exactly in Daniel 2, when Daniel was interpreting Nebuchadnezzar's vision, he described these successive kingdoms. And I really, I'm not a theologian, and I'm not someone who's trying to know everything about Scripture. I just wanted to know what God was leading me to know. And so I realized what he was saying was that these successive kingdoms he wanted Nebuchadnezzar to know about. The Babylonians, the Medes, the Persians, the Greeks, and then the Romans. So those were all governments who were on the earth, who occupied territory, and who had dominion and rule on the earth. And as I read that, and that came to me, I said, Lord, what are you telling me? Are you telling me that your kingdom is the government of heaven delivered to the earth, and I have access to that on the earth? Well, immediately he took me to Isaiah 9, where he said, when Messiah comes, that the government will be upon his shoulders. And I said, wow, I felt like that was game-changing. I felt like that was a different understanding that I'd had. That in business, I had a measure of success, but success and failure. And if I had understood the kingdom and understood the authority that was there in my ability to engage it on the earth and draw heaven to the earth, then that would have changed my outcomes. So,
wow. So back to what started all this. How did you, through your studies, recover your project? How did it change your approach to your project that all of a sudden found the brakes on?
Well, in that scripture in Matthew 6 where he said, seek first, in other words, make it your priority and your first consideration in everything. He didn't give any limits to that. He didn't say in church or in religious things or in any other thing. He said in all things, everything you do, he said, seek my kingdom, my government, my rule. And then he said something else that I had never really separated, but had always put it together. He said, and my righteousness. And in some translations, it says, my way of doing and being right. So that really was a light that went off for me, because what Jesus was saying, seek my government and my rule, my system, and my paradigm, my way, my kingdom paradigm of doing and being right. A paradigm is the ideas, the assumptions, and the beliefs that we accept that form our understanding of our world and how it operates. And everything that we do from that becomes the prism that we view everything in our life. So what I began to understand was I entered the kingdom and I had access. I became a citizen of heaven and had all access to all that was in heaven, but I didn't understand the paradigm shift. And I was trying to do kingdom work by engaging the systems of the world. And it just didn't work. It won't work. You have to follow the instructions of seek the government and my kingdom paradigm. Well, I tried the religious paradigm. That didn't work. And I tried the church paradigm, and that didn't work. When I studied, Perry, I looked and it was obvious when God was on the earth as Jesus Christ, he didn't follow the culture paradigm. He didn't follow the religious paradigm, and he didn't follow the church paradigm. He followed the kingdom paradigm. And the scripture where he was talking to his disciples about the shrewd servant and saying that he was wiser in his ways than we are in ours, what I believe the Holy Spirit was saying to us was he knows how to operate within his system. He knows how to engage the world and cause it to act on his behalf. I have provided a system that is there for you, and you can engage it, and you can impact, and you can direct your situation, circumstances, and outcomes, and go to the outcomes that I have created you to want to follow.
One of the obvious things, Charlie, that comes out of this is the contrast between the kingdom of God and the modern systems of the world today. That's a huge contrast, and the world system is ever-changing, especially if you add digital life to it and everything else.
Kind of scary sometimes, isn't it?
It is. It is. And
it's changing so fast, and they're entering new dimensions that we've never heard of. I mean, AI and so much of the technology that we are seeing in our world today, it can be overwhelming.
Some have said that the word kingdom means rule and reign. Would you agree with that?
I believe that's accurate to a point. Yeah, I really do. The government of heaven delivered to the earth for humanity to engage in for the successful living of our life. That's what the kingdom is.
So, how did you reapproach your project that stopped?
Well, I began to realize that there was a different paradigm and a different way of looking and considering things. One of the interesting things was when when I was in the middle of this massive project, and it was a hospitality project, and 9/11 happened, then all of that shut down. So for almost 2 years, we were getting guests from over 130 countries, and all of that stopped. They couldn't fly. They couldn't get here. And then all the restrictions that went with that. So I was actually in that business giving back for over a year, more than I was taking in. But I began to understand, and quite honestly, I'm not sure it was a willing understanding. I was being forced to understand that I had a different source and a different supply. And I could look to, there were times that I would be in this business and I had a situation where I needed $100,000, $200,000. And I didn't see it coming from the system because I was sending back. But I would just believe God and pray and say, okay, Lord, you know the need, and I'm trusting you. You're my provision. And miraculously, I never one time had a situation where everything wasn't met and met the way it was supposed to be.
One other quick question, Charlie, before I take a break. How did you, as you discovered and as God revealing to you the kingdom system, so contrary to the culture, how did you manage free will in the middle of this?
Well, I believe everything that our God created and designed operates by free will. I think we have to realize in our relationship with the Lord that the aseity of God, he doesn't need us. Paul telling the Athenians, he said, there's not a thing that we mortals can supply for him. And you begin to realize that God's choice to love us and to include us and to bring us to the relationship with him was chosen love. It wasn't something he had to do. It wasn't something he needed. But because he is love and because he loved us, he chose, just like his time on the earth and the resurrection codified forever, who he was and who he is and who we are to him because of the sacrifice he paid. But it was a chosen love, and that's what God wants from us. That's why we have free will, because we have to be able to choose, to have an option and to choose the right choice. And that's what the kingdom system is, the right choice.
Well said. All right, let me take a quick break here. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, Charlie has a website which also features all of his books, ksam.net. And there you'll find the kingdom systems, kingdom system, kingdomnomics, kingdom development. We'll talk more about that when we come back. We'll be right back.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Chris Silva understands your home and your commercial buildings are two of the largest investments most people make in a lifetime. One is for your family, the other is to support your family financially. That is why Chris Silva Painting goes the extra mile to protect both homes and commercial buildings with proper painting preparation and high-quality primers and paints. Serving Southern Oregon since 2006, this family-owned and operated business has painted over 1,000 homes. Chris Silva Painting offers an industry-leading 5-year warranty that covers materials and labor on all painting projects projects work for both residential and commercial buildings, both interior and exterior painting. Chris and his crew are courteous, they are efficient, organized, timely, and clean. Chris Silva Painting also offers military discounts. At Chris Silva Painting, our mission statement is to bring Christ's heart and principles to our customers and our job sites. We do that with honesty, integrity, and hard work. We don't cut corners, we paint them. CCB number 176097. Chris Silva Painting, 541-890-3960.
Experience evangelism like never before.
It's not about finding ourselves. It's not about being true to ourselves. It's about being born again.
Way of the Master's dynamic co-host team delivers captivating witnessing encounters.
That makes you feel uncomfortable because you're doing things you know you shouldn't. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Bold street witnessing that will leave you inspired and equipped to share your faith. Watch Way of the Master Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 5 on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back, and just so delighted to have with us. We've been looking forward to talking to Charlie Lewis, a seasoned businessman. He's a veteran, Vietnam veteran, military pilot. He's got a series of books called the Kingdom Series, and deals with the kingdom system, the kingdomnomics, kingdom development. And you can go to ksam.net and check that out. And there's a picture of his landing page. We're dealing with Seek First the Kingdom, and then all the other things will be added. Charlie, how did you, as you pursued this, and God begins to reveal to you the difference between His kingdom, His rule and reign, versus the kingdoms, versus the systems that we're left to do business in, called the culture of the world. How did you, after you discovered this paradigm shift, how did you view ownership of your business, ownership of your things, ownership of your dreams and outcomes? How do you view that?
Well, Perry, that I have been fortunate to know some amazing giants in the kingdom of God, and to have a relationship with them. And I learned from watching them that some of the things they said. I had one who, in particular, who said, I don't really enjoy much going to church anymore because it's just not fulfilling, doesn't do what I need it to do. So I went to, I was praying about that, and I said, Lord, these are good people. These are giants in your kingdom, and they don't enjoy church. What's the deal? And the Lord said, Charlie, He said, humanity from the beginning has been looking for a kingdom church. And the challenge is most organized religion today is forming a church kingdom and not a kingdom church. And I said, well, let's take that to all of the mountains of influence, like my business. I don't want to have a business kingdom. What I want to have is a kingdom business. So what I have to do is then understand your way of doing and being right. And in this paradigm, there are things that are totally different. I experience things in business, and I really have gone through some of the many depressions and recessions and things, and I just made the decision I wasn't going to participate in them. I was going to seek His way of doing, His thoughts, His paradigm, and in every time when the world seems to be struggling, God has blessed us and caused us to be able to prosper because we do it different. I will give you an example. One of the paradigms that we talk about in kingdomnomics. The Lord was teaching me about giving, and I said, okay, Lord, I've probably heard a lot of sermons on giving. What can I know that's different? He said, Charlie, giving comes before receiving. He said, so in the kingdom, you give and then you receive. And he said something that was pretty staggering to me. He said, in fact, if your earning plan is not to fulfill your giving plan, then you're operating in the wrong kingdom. So I had to change my whole way of thinking about that.
That is stunning. That's not easily that's not easily done when you're an entrepreneur.
No, it isn't, but you can do it. My family, I have all worked with us in our business because we're a national business. But many years ago, probably more than 25 years now, the Lord led me in Thanksgiving, right around Thanksgiving, I began writing a plan for the next year and extended out 2, 3, 5 years, however the Lord leads. But I list everything about us, our health, all of our assets, our airplanes, and everything that we have. I list it out and I ask God, what is your plan for me with this year? And I say, and how can I use this in your kingdom to give? Because so often we believe that giving only relates to money. But I believe that giving is the transference of wealth. I believe your wealth can be a lot of things besides money. And when you write it out, it takes me usually till sometime after the first of the year. And quite honestly, I have a pattern that I follow, and it'll end up being 40 to 50 pages of typed information on my giving plan and how my earning plan is related to that.
Okay, boy, I could talk to you for a week here, but let me just poke you at a few other areas. One is, I can't figure out an other way to ask the question, but is knowing that you are now working from a kingdom paradigm, God's kingdom paradigm, is giving like a budget item in your thinking?
Absolutely, but if you can look at it from that perspective. But, there's so much teaching on tithe, and I've had people say, oh, tithing was before, tithing was, do I tithe on before taxes or after taxes and all of those things. And to me, that's looking at it from a worldly perspective and not from a kingdom perspective, because Fran and I have been married over 58 years this year. And when I came back from Vietnam and began working in a small church in Florida where the Lord had led us, we began that's when we began our giving. And never were we concerned about a tithe or 10%. Most of the time we gave 20 to 30% because it was our pleasure to give. And what we also found out is that we couldn't outgive God. Everything we gave, He multiplied. You see, seed in a storehouse doesn't do anything. It's when you put it in the ground and you plant it, then God is into increase. So if I have seed, or if I have the ability to give, I don't want to hoard that. I want to use it in the kingdom. So the more I can give, the happier I am.
Charlie, how I'm going to run out of time here, so I'll get you back. But how did you guard your heart in giving, not to get?
Well, that the Lord said a lot about that in Matthew 6. He said, if you do it for the wrong motive, then the reward you get on earth is the only reward you get. You don't have a gift in that. But I realized that my goal and my perspective came from a different perspective. One of probably the most predominant paradigm in the kingdom that somehow we miss is eternity. You see, the Lord said in Ecclesiastes 3, He said He made everything beautiful in time, but He also planted eternity in our spirits and in our minds as an implanted sense of purpose. Why we're here, working through the ages, that's time, and nothing under the sun but God alone can satisfy. So I've never really had to separate that, because from the beginning, I listened to God and I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Because He also told me in my giving plan, Perry, He said, if you can do it without me, it's really not me. So I have to see beyond the things that are seen and believe God that his increase will make me able to do what he desires for me to do.
You're fascinating. What do you want people to get from your series of books?
God has an amazing plan for your life. The God who created heaven and earth and made this place so magnificent wouldn't leave us as pawns in the hand of the enemy, but he has provided a system that we can engage. Now, Kingdomnomics talks about how it works, how you make this system work for you. And then Kingdom Deployment tells how it fits into God's plan and into your life. I believe that system that God has always used to teach humanity is we get knowledge, and then knowledge without wisdom doesn't profit us a lot. So when we get the knowledge of the kingdom system, how do we make it work? It's not religious, we've said, and it's not churchy. It is a design component of our Creator, and then how all that fits into God's plan for humanity. He's got an amazing plan, and he's provided so wonderfully for all of us, and it is his pleasure to give us the kingdom and to allow us to be in a relationship with him that is overcoming everything we could accomplish in the earth.
Wow. All right. To our listeners and viewers, you can go to ksam.net. That's Charlie's website. Check out all of his books, The Kingdom System, Kingdomnomics, Kingdom Deployment. I think you'll find this to be a fascinating and very beneficial series to go through. Charlie, you're fascinating. Can we get you back sometime?
We'd love to do that. Thank you for the opportunity today, Perry.
Thank you. God bless you, friends. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you. You too.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
Okay, welcome back, and it's been quite a while since we've had our good friend Dan Perkins back with us, and I get his emails. They're always interesting. He's a political commentator, the host of What's on My Mind podcast. He's also an author of a series of romance novels and called Sad Eyes, and there's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. Dan is anything but sad. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He likes ice cream, quiche, and apple pie. And he has a couple of websites, danperkins.guru, and he has an amazing outreach to veterans, songs and stories for soldiers.us. And there's the picture of that landing page. Brother Dan, good to see you, man. How are you, bud?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
Hey, when you're around, I'm happy.
Good.
I don't have sad eyes.
Good.
Oh, so much to talk to you about, so little time. All right. The on and off again of deportation, and yet the Supreme Court has allowed the president to cancel protected status for Venezuelans. What's going on here?
It's a situation where you've got the district courts trying to be president, chief secretary of defense, secretary of state, commerce, trying to run the administration. And it's against the law. They can't do that. And so we had a case last Thursday, which was birthright. But tied to the birthright case was a discussion about whether or not there should be some restrictions on district courts judges to issue national temporary restraining orders. And so I would like to hope that once the court establishes the jurisdiction for the district courts, a lot of the immigration problems and conflicts will go away because the lower courts will have no standing because they are beyond the scope of what they're able to do. Now, I also know that Senator Grassley has introduced legislation to severely restrict the temporary restraining order power of the district courts. So that's what's going on. This is all leading up to the case that we had, which was much more than just birthright citizenship.
Okay, so there's the case, and then there's the jurisdiction.
Right.
The case can be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
The jurisdiction can be redefined or maybe properly defined by Congress, which they need to do immediately, right?
Yes. Yes, and they need to do that to limit that scope of influence on the part of the district is within the lines that were drawn for that district judge to sit on trial. So that's why it's important. If the court does in fact decide that the district courts no longer have the ability to issue national temporary restraining orders, a lot of these cases will be dismissed because they have no standing.
Okay. So at the end of the day, even though the Supreme Court's ruling on some of these now, at the end of the day, the Supreme Court is going to have to face the question of the executive authority on protecting the United States. And does the president have
Article
that
2.
authority, or does the court have that authority?
No, the Constitution is clear. The president has that under Article 2. I don't think there's any dispute about the fact that the president has the power under Article 2. Whether or not, the question is whether or not do district courts have the legal authority to intervene on a national basis, the policy that the President of the United States under Article 2 has the right to enforce.
All right. I got a bunch of topics. The big beautiful bill ran into some snags. The president, as we speak, is on the Hill lobbying for it. Why are ultra-conservative Republicans wanting to tank this bill?
Good question. That's because they're not ultra-conservatives. They're rhinos.
Because it would seem to me they've never had anybody in their camp like they have with President Trump that they would roll with this. I mean, politics is the art of compromise, so to speak.
Yes, but if you look at the events last week, they had this ongoing marathon of negotiations of what to do about the big beautiful bill. And so last week, one of the committees didn't support it. And one of the mainstream media came out, the president's bill is dead. What did we hear on Sunday? Well, over the weekend, the Republicans, through whatever power of persuasion they had, in fact, cleared a hurdle that is bringing it back up. And now they believe they have enough of support to pass it. So again, this is an example of the mainstream media putting the cart before the horse and making decisions and going to have to eat it. So now the scenario is that it'll pass by the 4th of July.
Okay, because there is another can of worms here brewing. If this
only one,
well, on this case, on the big beautiful bill, if these 4 Republicans got their way, they're empowered,
right?
And boy, they could really mess things up.
No question, no question. And so it becomes the responsibility of the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader in the Senate to support this legislation and drive it across the line. And I think what Trump went to the Hill today to continue to talk to Republicans and to try and get some Democrats to say, hey, maybe we should pass this because it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's he calls it the big beautiful bill. I call it the re-election definition.
Okay. I don't think that'll be on the cover of the bill.
No, I don't think it will be. Okay. All right. Switching to some other headlines. As we know, sadly, that former President Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive case of prostate cancer. And our thoughts and prayers are out to him, no doubt about that. The question is, this doesn't appear in 100 days. Is there a cover-up here?
Absolutely. Without question. Without question. I don't know whether you've had the chance yet, but you could get the entire audio tape of the Biden interview. And I started listening to it. I had to go to Boston this weekend for a wedding, and I only got about the first hour, but I will listen to all of it. But it's clear that when he was talking to Joe Biden about various documents that were found in his garage, in his beach house, in the Biden Center, in his offices in New York, or in Washington D.C., he said, "I don't remember those." And he says, "I'm not saying I didn't have them. I just don't remember ever taking them or how I got them." So the memory situation. Now, there are some people who are saying that the prostate cancer issue was a political decision based on the damage of the tapes that were released on Friday. I watched over, I think, at least 5 different doctors, including Democratic doctors, and they all said that they don't think it's possible that the prostate cancer could have been advanced to that point in the last 100 to 200 days. And when pressed, the question was, how long do you think it's been there? And all the doctors said, well, historically, these things take between 5 and 10 years to get to this level. If I take the minimum of 5 years, that means when Joe Biden was running for president for the 2020 election, he already had it. Now, here's the thing that...
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I just want to make one more point.
Sure.
This is a very, very difficult situation because, well, we don't wish ill on anybody. The fact that he's got stage 4 prostate cancer, he's had it for some time. Now, what was interesting to me is the number of doctors who have made, and I'm paraphrasing the following statement. Perhaps, if in fact he has had this cancer at least 5 years, one of the side effects of this cancer and this type of cancer and its migration to the bone is it would create symptoms that could be misconstrued as something else, meaning that we in the press who thought that we were dealing with dementia, in fact, he didn't have dementia. All these symptoms of loss, falling asleep, garbling his words, all these things are classic side effects of this prostate cancer. So it's very possible that Joe Biden doesn't, in fact, have dementia, but his cognitive ability has been destroyed with his prostate cancer.
All right, so only one quick question comes out of that before I take a break.
Yes, sir.
You're president of the United States. You're being physically examined all the time.
Yes.
And you are physically giving blood tests all the time.
Yes.
You and I, as men, know that shows up in blood tests pretty rapidly.
Right. Well, that, and I don't want to be crude here, but we're also very familiar with the rectal exam, checking for the size of the prostate. So you get the PSA shot, but you also get a physical test to determine has the size of the prostate gotten any larger since the last time that you did the investigation. So yeah, I can't believe that he's gone all this long and he's never had a PSA test. Now the reporters that I saw last night have all looked back at the public record, and there's no ever showing of a PSA test taken by the president. So that was been made public. So we've got a problem here with believability from the doctors who have treated him. And the question I heard asked a couple of times last night, were the doctors in on the cover-up?
Malpractice?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, let me take a quick break. Check out a couple of Dan's websites, danperkins.guru. Check out his podcast, always entertaining, What's on My Mind podcast, and support his outreach to veterans, which is songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. We'll be right back.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Because Christ is in our relationships at home, there should be a new quality to that relationship. It doesn't always happen all at once, but it happens along the way. As we submit ourselves to the Lord, as we should become better husbands and better wives and better parents and more obedient children and better workers and better bosses. Why? Because Christ is in the equation. Christ is everything. The title of this series is Christ Above All. He's more important than anything we've talked about today, to understand that it's all about our relationship with Christ. And here's Paul telling us, you want to honor the Christ that is the center of your life. It's going to affect how you live, how you relate at home, how you relate at work, how you function as parents. Christ is a difference maker.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Okay, welcome back. Always a joy to have Dan Perkins with us, and he's host of What's on My Mind podcast. He's also the author of a fascinating romantic series of novels called Sad Eyes. There's a picture of the cover of the book. You can get that online. Check out his website, danperkins.guru, or be involved with his outreach to veterans, songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. So, Dan, a lot of topics. See if I can get a quick response from you. Yesterday, the president's on the phone with President Putin, and they said that Zelensky and Putin will get together and talk about a ceasefire. What do you think?
I think that Mr. Trump is the only person probably in the world that can negotiate assist them in negotiating a ceasefire and an ultimate settlement.
So Putin and Zelensky just cannot get together. So
no, they hate each other.
So what does Trump offer here?
If I think it's not being talked about very much, but I think straight to the point, if he's putting pressure on Zelensky, number one, saying if you don't go to the table, you're going to have to look elsewhere for financial support because we're no longer going to support it. Okay. And NATO is not going to support it, and the European Union is not going to support him at the 350 billion level that we have as a country. So he's going to lose significant financial support, which means he won't be able to buy the bullets and the guns and the tanks and airplanes and everything else. On the other hand, he can say to Mr. Putin, we can bring some economic sanctions that will hurt you dramatically and your economy. So he has leverage on both sides. And I have no doubt that the 2-hour phone call yesterday was between Putin and Trump was a phone call of, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but a coming to Jesus moment for Putin to deal with the reality that which faces him.
Yeah, there's indications that's the case, so we'll see in the next couple of days what comes of this. In the meantime, it appears that the United States and Israel are circling the wagons on Iran in spite of the amazing Middle East trip of the president. They both have said, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Iran cannot have a nuke. Right. Iran says, all right, let's talk again. And I think they're saying, no, we're tired of talking because it never goes anywhere. Are you expecting, kind of like me, one day we're going to wake up and something's happened over there?
I think it's possible as early as tomorrow. I mean, I don't know what will be in the newspaper or the press happened. Hopefully it's good. But, I just don't see how the Ayatollahs can remain in power with the tremendous sanctions that America and the rest of the world is putting on them. The people will revolt. And I think that they're on the edge of that right now.
So you think, in addition to dismantling their nuclear system, that there would be a regime change?
Yes, absolutely. I think that once the nuclear situation was taken care of, I believe there are enough people in the country, including the military, who would be very predisposed to going a new direction with the government. All
right. So back to President Trump's Middle East tour. First stop, he picks up $400 billion. Second stop, he picks up $1.2 trillion. And the third stop, he picks up $200 billion.
He's got a great shopping cart, doesn't he?
You gotta kind of go, whoa, what's going on here? And he had all these business guys with him on the airplane. I mean, this is unlike anything we've ever seen before.
No question. And when you compare it to Joe, there's a story, I haven't had a chance to read much of it. The story broke this morning that it appears that representatives of the Biden administration were negotiating with Qatar to get a new plane.
Oh, boy. The plane deal is interesting. I figured out the solution to the plane because, the press thinks that Trump personally is going to get the plane. The plane would go to the State Department, but I have figured out a way to solve that problem and give the plane give the plane to Barron.
Well, I read that this is what I read. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I read it. That the deal was they would use the new plane for the rest of his term.
Yeah.
By that time, Boeing should be able to deliver to the new president a new 747 or a fleet of 747s, and that the plane that they're using for Air Force One would go to the
library.
Trump libraries somewhere.
Yeah, I've seen all that. I think the conversion of the Qatar plane would take months by the time Boeing would deliver. All right, so that is an amazing thing. In the meantime, Israel's ground operation intensifies in Gaza. Am I hearing and sensing here that Israel said, no matter what, no more Hamas?
Absolutely. Their objective early on for this attack was to destroy it, was to no longer make it viable. Now, some of us wrote the saying, yeah, we understand the rhetoric, but as long as there's a Muslim available, there'll be enough people that can to try and rebuild Hamas. It may take decades to do it, but it's like, I'm sorry for this, sir, but it's like cockroaches. You can never get rid of them.
Do you think in the end here, is it really possible that Saudi Arabia and Syria could join the accord?
Yes. Because what's happening, Saudi Arabia is the real power in the Middle East, not Iran. And Saudi Arabia is trying to move and has been very successful in diversifying its economy. To Saudi Arabia, it's about economic growth, not war. And so the idea that Saudi Arabia can draw from the resources of America to expand their economic platform across the world, and Syria looking to be in partnership with Saudi Arabia and America to become more of an economic zone than a war zone. I think when you went through all the numbers of the money that Trump got, that money is going to be helping us grow our economy and provide opportunities for companies in Syria and in Saudi Arabia to come and work with us in America.
What did you think of the heart pump between the prince and the president?
That's what people do today.
I mean, that was pretty amazing, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, he has no shame. He wants to be. He has an amazing ability to make friendships with enemies, and some are harder to do than others. But he always ultimately gets his way.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing about him, is that he has that ability to convert people, enemies, into friends.
All right, let me swing your attention back to California just for a moment. As you know, we have sanctuary states, we have sanctuary cities. By the way, Oregon's the oldest sanctuary state in the country. And these have become havens where, bad people can come in and exist, especially illegals. And it looks like that the U.S. attorney in the state of California found a loophole. And that is he's using all the agencies to do background checks within these sanctuary facilities. And if they actually lead to where they have been arrested on illegal entry, that they're issuing warrants for their arrest, which supersedes the sanctuary status. This is an amazing loophole. What do you think?
I think that what we're seeing is the blowback that the people that are left in California know where California is heading. They don't like it, and so they're going to change the direction. And this new U.S. attorney hears what the California people are doing and saying, and is going to enforce the law. And before, they weren't enforcing the law. And the guy who was a U.S. attorney in Los Angeles was known for his leniency with illegals, Garscon, and they took him out. They've had enough of what they were doing of releasing these people back into the community to murder and rape and steal and loot, and they don't want it anymore. So it's even California, the most liberal of liberal states, is the people, the electorate is turning on the elected, and the elected, in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, are hearing what the people are saying and trying to do something about it, which I think is positive.
Okay, one last question, Dan, and that is, it looks like the president has brought China economically to its knees.
Yes.
And now they want to talk.
Yes.
It's pretty brilliant, but at the same time, what he's put on and taken off, he can put back on again if they don't play ball. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, I think that the commonality between the Iranian government and the Chinese government is you can't trust either one of them, what they say. The Iranian government treats us as infidels. Their Sharia law allows them to lie and cheat and steal and not keep any promise they make to infidels. And the Chinese historically have a reputation of lying to get what they want. So I think that we're in a situation where things are going against them. Not only, if China, think about this, if China makes any reasonable capitulation to Donald Trump, I'm telling you, the rest of the world will fall in place.
Okay.
And Mr. Trump wins the Nobel Prize for Economics, at the same time winning a Nobel Prize for Peace. So I just think that the other thing that China has is their population is dwindling because of lack of repopulation, and they know it. And they've got the children that are left are not interested in having children. So they've lost about 100 million in their population over the last 5 to 10 years. And they could be down to under 1 billion people in 25 years. And so they would be looking at maybe 600 million people that have died and not been replaced. But I have one, if I can, one quick comment for you.
Quick.
I think that the illness from Mr. Biden and the fact that the pardons were signed by the auto pen are in direct conflict with the rules under the Constitution of the pardoning powers. The president is the only one who can grant a pardon.
Okay.
If staffers use the auto pen to sign these pardons, which they did,
all right,
there's no way they can do it because the president cannot, under the Constitution, delegate, and therefore some of these pardons may be overturned.
Gotta go, bro. Thank you for your time.
Anytime, sir. Thank you.
Live the adventure with Hellgate Jetboat Excursions. Discover your wild side in the heart of the Pacific Northwest with Hellgate's high-speed spins, stunning Rogue River scenery, and incredible wildlife sightings. It's an experience like no other. Plus, you can enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, a place where families connect, friends unite, and the river brings it all to life.